Hokage I can fully level up with one click. Chapter 401 to 420. Chapter 401 Give the tailed beast to people. Immediately one click full level. Chinyu thought about it and gave an order directly. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. The ethereal voice of the system sounded again. The next moment, the long-awaited instruction sounded again. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the lock of the golem, one-click full-level success. Information like a warm current quickly poured into Chinyu's mind. Chinyu opened his eyes again, looked at the QB 9 tails chakra floating in the sky, flipped his right hand, and formed a magic seal. Roar. The seal fell, and Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, let out a high-pitched roar. The big mouth of the blood basin suddenly slammed down, and a chain that was as black as ink turned into a drill and shot into the thin QB 9 tails body in the void. Roar. The phantom QB 9 tails figure with a terrified cry. However, it is not yet time for everyone to react. The lock of the golem, like a sharp claw, suddenly pulled back, and the next moment swallowed it into the mouth of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Boom. The ferocious mouth closed suddenly. The huge head of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, with 9 closed eyes, one of which is slightly open, but looks a little pale. Seeing this scene, Chinyu was not surprised. In the original book, this 8-tailed bull ghost, in order to save Killer Bee, broke an octopus leg and turned into a double to cross the sea. It was only discovered after the magic 9 dragons were sealed. This amount of chakra alone could not revive Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Ding dang, it is detected that the host has acquired QB 9 tails chakra. Is it full level immediately with one click? The ethereal sound of the system suddenly appeared, making Chinyu's expression stagnate. It seems that this time he really guessed right. Call. Chinyu took a deep breath and clenched his fists secretly. Immediately one click full level. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, QB 9 tails chakra has successfully reached the full level with one click. The ethereal system sound resounded again. A powerful wave of chakra quickly poured into Chinyu's body. Roar. Roar came from the mouth of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. One of the 9 eyes that were originally closed suddenly opened, and the color of the orangutan Yuhi appeared. Seeing this scene, Chinyu breathed a sigh of relief and removed the magic seal in his hand. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, which had originally emerged from the rock formation, burrowed into the soil again. Look at Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, disappearing before your eyes. The people present were relieved and slumped on the ground. It can be said that what happened today can definitely be called unforgettable in a lifetime. Teacher, Sarutobi Asuma said hesitantly. Okay, what I want to do is finished. The transformation technique on Chinyu's body dissipated like a cloud and finally manifested the prototype. Patted Asuma and Delu on the shoulders, looked around and said, "Don't leak this matter, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. You should know, who is the best at keeping secrets." When these words fell, everyone in the field immediately covered their mouths subconsciously and shook their heads again and again. Even the 3 big names nodded in agreement. Goodbye. Voice fell, Chinyuju Tomo Mangekyo Sharingan turned in vain, and the tyrannical spatial fluctuations filled the air. Space Uzumaki emerged, under the watchful eyes of everyone. He stepped into it. Looking at this scene, everyone present, in relief, fell to the ground one after another, showing the expression of the rest of their lives. "You Asuma, hurry up and help me," Yuhuo Daming hurriedly shouted. Sarutobi Asuma came back to his senses, rushed up quickly, and said nervously, "Master Damo, the teacher was offended just now, but he also disintegrated the assassination plot of Kazuma. Can you not blame the teacher, Damo?" Blame. Yuhuo Daimyo said anxiously. Who wants to start a war with such a terrifying guy? Uchiha Chinyu, doesn't he only want the tailed beast? Let Sarutobi, hurry up and give the tailed beast to Chinyu. Give the tailed beast to Chinyu. Sarutobi Asuma and Delu's expressions froze, their faces filled with disbelief. As people in the ninja world, they clearly knew that Uchiha Chinyu provoked the war of the 5 major ninja villages, and was directed at the 9 big-tailed beasts. Moreover, the tail beast is the lifeblood of Shinobi Village, and it is one of the most important combat powers. However, now Daimyo threatens to give Kyubi, 9 tails, to Chinyu. If you don't hear it with your own ears, who wants to believe it? Asuma, what are you still doing? Hurry up and pass the message to Hokage in Konoha Shinobi Village and tell him that this is the highest decision. Yuhuo Daimyo growled hysterically. In their eyes, the 9-tailed beasts are completely dispensable. Senju Hashirama after the establishment of Shinobi Village. Then sell it to other ninja villages, and eventually evolve into a tailed beast weapon. It can be said that, to a certain extent, the contradictions of the 5 major ninja villages are stimulated, and many are built on the tailed beasts. Don't hurry up yet, Yuhuo Daimyo roared hoarsely when he said that. I know. Sarutobi Asuma's expression froze, and he nodded hurriedly, turned and fled. At the same time, from the 4th Ninja World War, the 5 major ninja villages are running like war machines. A large number of ninjas were quickly assembled. In the Gobi Desert not far from the Country of Fire, a large number of tent camps had already been set up to provide temporary rest for those ninjas gathered here. The center of the camp, a huge tent was erected, and 5 cage-level powerhouses representing the major ninja villages gathered in this place. 3rd generations of Hokage, why are you calling us in such a hurry? 2 days ago, Onoki raised his brows and said in a breathless voice. The rest of the people suddenly turned their eyes and locked on the 3rd generation of Hokage, a little more impatient. In their eyes, the 5 ninja villages are now temporarily establishing an alliance. However, in the face of the unknown threat brought by Uchiha Chinyu, they also need to prepare a lot of backhands so that they can deal with it with peace of mind. There was not much time left for them. However, now the 3 generations of Hokage are forcibly summoning them, which undoubtedly makes them feel uncomfortable. Although, the 3rd generation of Hokage is the proposer of this alliance, but if he really has to obey, his strength is obviously not enough. After all, every strong person who can become a cage level is an unruly existence. To make them obedient, it would be a complete fart. Don't be impatient. Not long ago, you should have known about the rampage of Kyubi, 9 tails. The 3rd Hokage raised his eyelids and said in a deep voice. Chapter 402-100,000 man-made troops. Kyubi, 9 tails, run away. The expressions of the 4 shadows present changed slightly, and even their eyes suddenly became sharp. It can be said that this time the 4th Ninja War was held, and the battle for tail beasts was the key. Now that Kyubi, 9 tails, is running amok at such a sensitive time, it certainly strains their nerves. What's more, Konoha Ninja Village is Uchiha Chinyu's village, which makes people smell a little tricky. 3 generations of Hokage, of course we have heard about this, but we don't know the details. 2 days ago, Onoki said in a deep voice, you are planning to tell us now that this matter is related to Uchiha Chinyu. In other words, Kyubi, 9 tails, has been taken away, and your Konoha Ninja Village is planning to withdraw from this war. As soon as these words fell, everyone's nerves were tense again, and their eyes turned around, locking on the body of the 3rd generation of Hokage. Hokage from the very beginning was to avoid a head-on conflict with Uchiha Chinyu. It's a pity that the negotiation failed, and it was under the pressure of the 4 major ninja villages, and the powerful force possessed by Kyubi, 9 tails, which made Konoha Ninja Village difficult to give up, and it would evolve into the 4th Ninja War. Convened. However, If at this juncture Konoha ninja loses Kyuubi, Nine Tails, then the essence of the matter, everything changes. No, you misunderstood. 3 generations of Hokage said in a deep voice. Kyuubi, Nine Tails, rampage is indeed related to Chinyu. However, he helped us suppress the tailed beast. Suppressing tailed beasts. The expressions of Onoki and others changed suddenly, and the 3rd generation Raikage was the first to lose his breath and said anxiously, Uchiha Chinyu, didn't you take this opportunity to take the tailed beast away? No, the 3 generations of Hokage shook his head and said, the day Kyuubi, Nine Tails, went berserk, and under no one's Jinchuriki column force, our Konoha shinobi village was helpless. You should know that among the 9-tailed beasts, Kyuubi, Nine Tails, has the largest amount of chakra, and once it successfully displays tailed beast bomb, it will be able to easily raise the ninja village to the ground. Having said this, the eyes of the 3 generations of Hokage swept across the field, and then said solemnly, it's just that such a powerful Kyuubi, Nine Tails, in front of Uchiha Chinyu, can't resist the next look. You guys, after hearing this, do you still plan to continue to be enemies with Uchiha Chinyu for the sake of the tailed beast? The atmosphere of the scene suddenly changed. A look, subdued Kyuubi, Nine Tails. This kind of thing is placed in their cognition, but they have never expected it. However, at this juncture, they also believe that the 3 generations of Hokage will never lie. After all, for a ninja village, the anger of Uchiha Chinyu is enough to make people jealous, but the anger from the 4 major ninja villages cannot be underestimated either. It can be said that, to a certain extent, their 5 great ninja villages are now sitting on the same boat. 3 generations of Hokage don't need to lie about this sort of thing. HMPH, the 3 generations of Hokage, Mangekyo Sharingan, none of us have seen before. The demonic illusion of the Uchiha family is very strong, but it is not impossible to fight. The 3rd generation of Raikage snorted coldly. What's more, as long as the tailed beast and the human Jinchuriki column force are compatible enough, once the human Jinchuriki column force or the tailed beast is hit by demonic illusion, any party is willing to take action and disrupt the chakra operation, then this is enough to break the demonic illusion, so in this fight, the Jinchuriki column force can also come in handy. Quote. As for, if anyone says it can't be done, it means that you are not good enough. The slightly long-sounding voice sounded a little annoying. However, Onoki and the others nodded in agreement. They are all battle-hardened ninjas, and they are not a minority when it comes to demonic illusion and hypnotism. And in their eyes, demonic illusion, the strongest of the Uchiha clan, still relies on the gaze of both eyes. It is enough to deliberately avoid this. 3 generations of Hokage, you have heard what Raikage meant. This battle cannot be retreated, otherwise other ninja villages will know that our 5 major ninja villages, facing a missing nin in the area, chose to hand over the tailed beast. This is simply shame. How will our 5 great ninja villages be convincing in the future? Rasa said coldly. If it was said that whoever hated Chinyu the most in the field, it would definitely be him. Not long ago, what happened in Sunagakur village made his Kage's image plummet. Only thing that made him feel lucky was that Uchiha Chinyu provoked the 4th ninja war with one blow, attracting everyone's attention. Otherwise, in the case of complaining, waiting for him, I am afraid that even Kage's position will not be guaranteed. For Rasa, this battle is a must. Okay, since everyone's idea has been decided, then I will not persuade them anymore. 3 generations of Hokage sighed and said, you just know that Kyuubi, Nine Tails, went berserk, but you don't know why he went berserk. Minato, come in. Explain it to them. Namikaze Minato, who had been guarding the door for a long time, flashed in like a ghost, and landed on the side of the 3 generations of Hokage. Everyone should be very clear about my identity. Namikaze Minato said without any hesitation, straight to the point. The day Kyuubi, Nine Tails, went berserk, it was because of a person who called himself Black Zetsu. I believe that the shadows present were present. Some people have heard of this name. Black Zetsu. Karatake Yagura's expression changed slightly. Although this change is very small, the people present are all ghost-like beings, and these changes in expressions cannot escape their eyes. It seems that the fourth generation of Mizukage, Sama has also been in contact with Black Zetsu, so I will say it directly. Namikaze Minato did not avoid suspicion, but directly pointed out. Karatake Yagura's expression changed, he opened his mouth when he wanted to speak, and finally remained silent. Seeing this, Namikaze Minato paused for a while, and then continued, everyone here should be very clear. The Uzumaki clan's Grandmaster Sealing Technique, among which our Konoha Ninja Village, is the Uzumaki clan's clan, as a human Jinchuriki column force, that confinement ability is strong. Even Kyubi, Nine Tails, can only keep his own feet. Quote. However, Black Zetsu has the ability to break through the seal and free the tailed beast. He made Kyubi, Nine Tails, riot. He once threatened that as long as we are willing to let him join the alliance of the 5 great ninja villages, we will be able to guide us, and we will use a more powerful sealing technique to make the Jinchuriki column force more compatible with the tailed beast, so as to avoid runaways in battle. At the same time, he also brought us a man-made force of 100,000. The slightly elusive voice reverberated in the tent. If it is said, the first half of the sentence did not interest them much, but the last sentence changed their expressions drastically. It can be said that the 5 major ninja villages have experienced the Third Ninja War, and the losses on ninjas are 4 or 5 out of 10. For example, in Sunagakur village, it is almost half the price. Right now, the 4th Ninja War has started again. In addition to the little kids who are still learning, their 5 major ninja villages can really gather only 50,000 or 60,000 troops. Now suddenly there is a Black Zetsu with a man-made force of 100,000. This was beyond their expectations. After all, this kind of existence is not an alliance, but a huge threat to their major ninja villages. Moreover, the 100,000 man-made troops were silently built under the eyes of their 5 major ninja villages, which was beyond their cognition. Chapter 403 Who has no trump card? 100,000 man-made troops. Rasa was the first to lose his breath, looked at Namikaze Minato and said, "Fourth Hokage, are you kidding me? It's a joke to cultivate 100,000 man-made troops under the eyes of our 5 major countries." Faced with Rasa's questioning, the shadows present turned their gazes in vain and locked onto the 4th generation of Hokage. However, the first thing that catches the eye is a photo full of white Zetsu figures. At first glance, there was no end to the queue, and the faces of the 4 Rasa present turned ashen. "What's the matter? You don't believe it, or you don't want me to join the fight against Uchiha Chinyu?" A slightly playful voice sounded abruptly outside the tent. The attention of everyone present was instantly attracted. Black Zetsu's yin and yang face, in addition to Karatake Yagura, the expressions of the 3 generations of Hokage also changed slightly. Faced with the presence of this mysterious, unwitting, 100,000 strong army, even the 5 great ninja villages were terrified, and couldn't help but cheer up. "Black Zetsu, I didn't expect you to hide so deep." Karatake Yagura spoke first. "Not long ago, this person in front of me had cooperated with him. But at that time, Black Zetsu, in Karatake Yagura's eyes, was at best a conspirator with a little more intrigue. Apart from the sealing technique that controls the tailed beast, there is absolutely nothing worthy of his attention. However, now that it appeared again, but with a different identity, if it hadn't been seen with their own eyes, I'm afraid not many people would be willing to believe it." "Hehe, the 4th generation of Mizukage, didn't you like the seal art of the tailed beast?" Black Zetsu smiled and looked at Karatake Yagura. "Now, but the seal art is handed over to you, is this sincerity enough?" As soon as these words fell, Black Zetsu flipped his right hand down, and an extra scroll appeared, which he threw directly on the table. The scroll flew down in midair and hit the table hard. The next moment, like a cloth, spread out on the table, the mysterious seal recorded in the temple made the pupils of many people in the field shrink slightly. Is this the ancient seal technique? The third generation of Hokage spoke first, tensing everyone's nerves. The face of this ancient sealing technique, the 3 generations of Hokage, known as the Professor of Konoha Ninjutsu, have enough right to speak. Hehe, I didn't expect that someone would be able to see the origin of this ninjutsu. Black Zetsu smiled softly. This is the magic dragon banning technique, which can further enhance the connection between the tailed beast and the human Jinchuriki column power. Now that my sincerity has been seen, you have also seen it, so should you give me an answer? Having said that, Black Zetsu looked around the arena with great interest. If this sealing technique can come in handy, I can agree to your participation. Rasa spoke first. When he thought of the internal and external troubles in Sunagakur village, he couldn't wait, and wanted to kill Uchiha Chinyuge to relieve the pressure. I can agree too. As soon as someone started, Karataki Yagura also chimed in. And the 4th generation of Hokage proposed this time. There are only 4 generations of Raikage and 2 days of Onoki, who have not yet expressed their position. However, 100,000 man-made troops, coupled with the sealing technique that can make the connection between the tailed beast and the human Jinchuriki column force more urgent. For the 5 major ninja villages that have just experienced the 3rd ninja war, it is simply a sweet pastry. For a time, the 4th generation of Raikage and the 2nd day of Onoki, after looking at each other, nodded solemnly and said, "We agree to." These words made Namikaze Minato look happy. Before he could react, the 3rd generation of Hokage took the lead and said, "Okay, since everyone has no opinion, tomorrow the ninjas of our 5 countries will have their final assembly. I hope that you can minimize the damage, but also can't lose this battle. Next, let's wait for the war to come." The old voice had an inexplicable solemnity at the end. In the face of Uchiha Chinyu, who has not been able to figure out the details until now, the confidence in the hearts of the 3 generations of Hokage is still lacking. HMPH, the 3rd generation of Hokage, don't say it if you are polite, let's print a copy of this thing and go back and try it first. The 4th generation of Raikage snorted coldly, took out a brand new scroll with his backhand, and extended the sealing technique. After printing it, he turned around and left. Now there is only 1 day left before the decisive battle. Killer Bee already has the strength of the most perfect person Jinchuriki column. However, the power that can be transformed between a tailed beast and a human is also judged by the human physique. If you can use this sealing technique to increase Killer Bee's power to absorb the 8-tailed bull ghost, this is not a bad thing. The remaining 3 shadows, obviously holding the same idea as the 4th generation Raikage, branded the sealing technique one by one, then turned around and walked away quickly. For a time, in the huge tent, only 3 generations of Hokage, Namikaze Minato, and Black Zetsu remained. "What's the matter, don't you want this scroll?" Black Zetsu looked at Namikaze Minato and said, "If you can use this sealing technique effectively, then you don't have to worry about the tailed beast going berserk in the future. It shouldn't hurt to give it a try." He spoke. Black Zetsu grabbed the scroll with his right hand and threw it to Namikaze Minato. "If there is nothing else, then I will go back first. See you in the decisive battle tomorrow." Those words, Black Zetsu turned around and walked away. "Stop," the 3 generations of Hokage said suddenly. "Black Zetsu, I don't know, what kind of hatred do you have with Uchiha Chinyu, let you make such a determination to seek our alliance. However, I want to remind you in advance that your methods and origins are unpredictable, but I still have a lot of trump cards. I hope you don't make trouble at this juncture, otherwise don't blame me for not in the love of the alliance. I have shot you." The violent scene changed Namikaze Minato's expression slightly. Was suspicious of Black Zetsu, who was shrouded in mystery all over his body. However, under the premise of the alliance, he did not expect that the third generation of Hokage would have such great courage to say such cruel words. Hehe, the third generation of Hokage, who doesn't have a whole card? Black Zetsu jokingly laughed and said, however, don't worry, I won't mess around until I kill Uchiha Chinyu. Hopefully, we can succeed in this battle. Leaving those words behind, Black Zetsu didn't hesitate this time. The chakra fluctuations of the body flowed, and the whole body seemed to melt, drilling into the soil under the feet. Black Zetsu had completely disappeared without a trace. The third generation of Hokage breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the chair. Chapter 404-Ninja has no future. 3 generations of Hokage-sama, are you really going to use that trick? Namikaze Minato asked, unable to hold back his breath. As a member of Konoha Shinobi Village, he certainly knew what trump cards were in the hands of the 3 generations of Hokage. I also hope that I don't need to use that trick, but if I have to, I can only take the risk. The third generation of Hokage flashed a dignified look on his face, and said, after all, what means does Uchiha Chinyu have? Even I don't know what to do. Can't guess. What's more, that Black Zetsu, those who come are not good, and those who are good will not come. We still need to use multiple means to take precautions. Have you collected enough of what I asked you to prepare? Third generation Hokage, don't worry, I am ready, and it meets the requirements of the operation. After the fourth generation Hokage was silent for a while, he took out a slightly larger scroll with his backhand and handed it to the third generation Hokage. Third generation Hokage took the scroll, he felt the aura emanating from the scroll, and nodded solemnly, yes, you have done a good job in this matter. The scroll in your hand, which records the sealing technique, may be of use to Kushina, so send it over first. Thank you, Lord Hokage, the third generation. Namikaze Minato looked overjoyed, clenched the scroll in his hand, turned and disappeared. Feeling the spatial fluctuations remaining in the air, the third generation Hokage shook his head helplessly and sighed. Minato, this time the proposal to cooperate with Black Zetsu seems to be largely due to Uzumaki Kushina. I hope he didn't watch it this time. The wrong person. Jiraiya, the great toad immortal of Mount Myoboku, is there an answer? As soon as these words fell, Jiraiya, who was carrying a huge scroll, flashed out of the darkness of the tent. Third generation of Hokage looked back, frowned, and said, is there any bad news? In the huge ninja world, there are 3 holy places for cultivating immortals. Among them, the great toad immortal of Mount Myoboku can be said to have the longest existence. According to Jiraiya's narration, this giant toad immortal who has survived for thousands of years, but he opened his mouth and closed his mouth, thinking of the past. In particular, that sentence, I think that when I and the 6 paths immortals were brothers and sisters. Teacher, I don't know if it's bad news or good news. Jiraiya said with a bitter expression, in the reply from the big toad fairy. The first time he met Chinyu, he couldn't see through it at all. Right now, it's even harder to see through. The world of ninja that was disturbed by Uchiha and Chinyu seems to be blocked by a layer of veil. Having said that, Jiraiya looked at the 3 generations of Hokage and said, if possible, immortal Big Toad, let's try to avoid war, otherwise it will be doomed. There is no future in the ninja world. Will it be doomed? The third generation of Hokage couldn't help but startled. Faced with this kind of evaluation, he had never thought of it at all. It's a pity that the arrow is on the string and he has to send it. The current situation can no longer allow him to think too much. 3 generations of Hokage knocked on the table, he sighed faintly and said, okay, we can no longer retreat. Now I just hope that Uchiha and Chinyu can retreat, otherwise we can only use a trick. These words fell, Jiraiya's expression changed slightly, and when it finally came to his mouth, he swallowed it back in his stomach. At the same time, not far from the huge tent used for the Central Council, there was a heavily guarded tent. Namikaze Minato's appearance like a ghost clearly alarmed the Anbu ninja stationed in the dark. However, after seeing Namikaze Minato's identity clearly, Anbu ninja hiding in the dark did not do much, but let Namikaze Minato go in. PFF'd. The sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded along with the rolled-up door curtain. Two pitch-black and ink-like stances attacked Namikaze Minato's face in a savage manner. The violent scene changed Namikaze Minato's expression slightly. Before he could think about it, he took out a Hiraishin kunai with his backhand and threw it on the ground in front of him at will. The next moment, before the attack fell, the whole person disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Had passed through the attack, and let two kunai shoot through the tent, settling on the wooden Jinchuriki column outside. Sir Hokage, what happened? An Anbu ninja flashed out in the dark. Watching these two kunai sticking straight on the wooden Jinchuriki column, and making a move in the garrison of the Ninja Army Alliance, this is simply courting death. However, as soon as these words fell, a figure flashed out from another corner, and stopped the nosy Anbu ninja. Don't meddle in your own business, it's the Kyuubi, Nine Tails people Jinchuriki, column force Uzumaki Kushina who live there. Can't you see her relationship with the fourth generation Hokage, Sama? The slightly older Anbu said with a hint of apology, and said, Ms. Minato, Sagi has just joined Anbu, and some things are wrong until you don't know. However, don't worry, no matter what sound comes out or what happens next, we won't intervene. I hope Lord Hokage of the fourth generation can forgive Sagi. After all, in their eyes, tomorrow there will be a decisive battle with Konoha missing Nin, the blood-colored Asura Uchiha Chinyu. So who doesn't want to cherish it right now, the truth that a spring night is worth $1,000. The two Anbu ninjas, obviously thinking of the same juncture, invariably cast a glance at WDM Minato and disappeared into the dark. Feeling the atmosphere in the arena, it suddenly changed. Namikaze Minato reluctantly touched the tip of his nose, looked at the scroll in his hand, and immediately followed the direction that Kunayu came from. The first to catch the eye was Uzumaki Kushina, who was locked in the barrier. Why are you still here? Uzumaki Kushina said coldly, you should know that this kind of barrier breaking can't stop me at all. I just felt that you were working with the guy who made Kyuubi, Nine Tails go berserk in my body. Minato, are you crazy? The words that seemed a little long, but at the end, there was a hint of anger. Hearing this, Namikaze Minato's expression turned ashen. He clenched the scroll in Evil's hand, and said, Kushina, everything I do is for you. Uchiha Chinyu's strength, you have seen it with your own eyes, but one look suppresses Kyuubi, Nine Tails, such an existence can't be fought against him by ordinary means alone. The only way is to join forces with the equally mysterious Black Zetsu. At least, Black Zetsu has given us a huge help, 100,000 man-made troops, and this sealing technique that enhances the control of the tailed beast. Everything I do is to strengthen our bargaining chip against Uchiha Chinyu, isn't that also wrong? Chapter 405 _ The yellow flash is also useless. Namikaze Minato, the hurried voice echoed in the tent, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. Torch-like eyes, staring at Uzumaki Kushina, as if eager to get her approval. It looked like a dog who had done something and waited for the owner's praise. However, the words that fell in his ear made this expression instantly stiff. No, what you did was for yourself. When Uchiha Chinyu left, he told you not to have any dealings with Black Zetsu. Uzumaki Kushina said anxiously, he also told me that he would not let me die. So you don't have to use me for any excuses at all. I won't even want the broken scroll in your hand. After these words fell, the scene suddenly filled with an inexplicable depressing atmosphere. Namikaze Minato's expression suddenly stiffened, his hands clenched tightly against the scroll, his phalanges turned white, a grim look flashed across his face, and he roared, Uchiha Chinyu again, since you and him first after the first meeting, you kept talking about him. If you like him, you can run as missing nin, and I don't need to do so much for you. Spoke, Namikaze Minato suddenly flipped his right hand, and the scroll was unrolled. Looking at the mysterious spell marks recorded in the scroll, WDM Minato is literally 10 lines at a glance. For such a famous genius in the history of Konoha Ninja Village, it takes only a few breaths to browse the ninjutsu recorded on this scroll. When the last surgical mudra fell in Namikaze Minato's eyes, his hands flew up without warning. The violent scene suddenly changed Kushina's expression. However, she has a way to break through the barrier, but under the premise, it still takes time. However, at the moment, Namikaze Minato's spellcasting speed is obviously faster than her breaking through the barrier. When the last spell fell, Namikaze Minato's face flashed a ferocious look, roaring, everything I do is for you. Sealing technique, illusory dragon ban. Boom. The 5 fingers slammed on the scroll, and the moment the mysterious magic seal spread quickly, an illusory dragon quickly rose into the air. The next moment, before Uzumaki Kushina could react, he drilled into her body directly. The violent scene made Uzumaki Kushina's expression change suddenly, feeling the Kyuubi 9 tails in his body, and at this moment, as if he was bound tightly to her, his expression changed suddenly. The past, her relationship with Kyuubi 9 tails was a bit like a well-watered sea. Kyuubi 9 tails is just a resident of her body, and she is the landlord of the Master's Key. However, the moment this strange sealing technique penetrated into her body, the originally weak connection was instantly established. It feels like the meridian is smooth. Girl, what happened? Why can't the chakra in my body be freely controlled? Did you break the agreement between us? The dark consciousness space, Kyuubi 9 tails' eyes suddenly opened, and an inexplicable and fierce aura exploded like a frenzy. However, this burst of breath quickly changed the consciousness space. The green and gleaming, like blood vessels, the sealing spell that was inserted into Kyuubi 9 tails' body quickly absorbed the power emanating from the tailed beast and poured it into Uzumaki Kushina's body. Feeling this rapidly growing chakra, Uzumaki Kushina's expression changed drastically. Girl, what the hell is going on? If you don't give me an explanation, you'll blame me for being impolite. Feeling the detonating aura in his body, he was devoured and plundered by a whale. This is the first time that Kyuubi 9 tails has encountered. After all, there are only 2 ways to get the power of the tailed beast with the Jinchuriki column force. First, unlock the seal, let the power leak out of the body, and use the erosion of the tailed beast chakra to achieve the effect of borrowing. It can be said that this is most of the way that the human Jinchuriki column force uses the tailed beast chakra. The second is to get the approval of the tailed beast like Killer Bee and become a perfect human Jinchuriki column force. However, Uzumaki Kushina and Kyuubi 9 tails obviously have not yet reached this relationship. I was forcibly put a seal into my body just now. I haven't figured out this situation yet. Please be patient, our agreement is still valid. Uzumaki Kushina explained in a hurry. Please leave this matter to me and I will give you a proper explanation. Faced with these words, Kyuubi's 9 tails' round blood-colored pupils turned slightly, and the tailed beast chakra that erupted in the end was quickly retracted. His penetrating pupils closed and said, okay, look. For that guy's sake, I trust you once. But don't forget what I reminded you of yesterday, but don't get me involved. The words that were annihilated in the consciousness space gradually dissipated, and the figure of Kyuubi 9 tails made Uzumaki Kushina secretly relieved. Kyuubi 9 tails took the initiative to contact her yesterday. I couldn't help but feel a huge shock. According to Kyuubi 9 tails, it has a momentary, as if caught, feeling. Then, there's an illusion of overlap. It was as if this world suddenly had another self. If you want to reason in this direction, the first-person Kyubi, Ninetales, thinks of as not Black Zetsu, but Uchiha Chinyu. It is for this reason that it has reached an agreement with Uzumaki Kushina. Kushina, how do you feel? Have you strengthened your control over Kyubi, Ninetales? Namikaze Minato looked at Uzumaki Kushina, who opened his eyes, and hurriedly moved closer. However, as soon as the face got close, before Namikaze Minato could react, his slender hands whistled and fanned directly towards his face. Look at the slap that quickly expands in the pupil. At this moment, Namikaze Minato was stunned in place. Faced with this slap, the Konoha yellow flash was useless. Snapped. The crisp slaps echoed in the tent like thunder, and the burning sensation made Namikaze Minato bewildered. Covering his cheeks subconsciously, he hurriedly asked, Kushina, hit me. What's wrong with hitting you? I'm going to kick you. Kushina roared. Her Yuhi hair was barely moving. The title of Konoha Yuhi Pepper was not in vain. The muscles in his right foot tightened suddenly, and he flew straight towards Namikaze Minato. Who asked you to put a seal on me at will, and quickly untie it for me, or I will kick you to death. How dare you hide? My mother has to kill you today. A series of noisy voices echoed in the tent. Anbu ninjas who were guarding outside and deliberately distanced themselves, looked at each other subconsciously, and showed such an expression on their faces. The two did not have any verbal communication, and there was no hesitation in the slightest. With a flick of the figure, they pulled a little further away. Spring nights are worth thousands of dollars. At least, in their eyes, what happened in this tent was too violent. Chapter 406 Armies Assemble. The early morning sun is like broken gold, swaying on the entire Gobi beach. An inexplicable and oppressive atmosphere permeated, like an invisible big hand, tightening the heart. On the huge Gobi Desert, tens of thousands of people gathered here. The leader of the cage-level powerhouse, standing on the cliff, looked solemn, overlooking the phalanx that gradually gathered below. The powerhouses from each village followed cage level, with a solemn expression on their faces, like straws pressing on everyone's heart. It can be said that the attitude of any strong man is the confidence and determination of the Alliance Army. The crowd of cage-level powerhouses present looked at each other, and the third generation of Hokage took the lead to stand out from the crowd. The turbid pupils could not help but sharpen like torches, and immediately said aloud. Okay, everyone gathered here today, which means that we have made up our minds to maintain the glory of our 5 great ninja villages. However, this battle involves life and death. In the face of Uchiha Chinyu, we don't know what cards he has and what means he has. Speaking of this, the 4th generation Raikage looked solemn and stood out from the crowd, and a thunderous voice suddenly sounded. The 3 generations of Hokage are right, but our 5 major ninja villages can stand in the ninja world for 100 years and have their own heritage. Now Uchiha Chinyu is hunting tailed beasts privately, and even openly declaring war on our 5 great ninja villages. This is a shame for our 5 great ninja villages. So, today, we gathered here to wash away this shame, to pin Uchiha Chinyu on this Gobi Desert, and let him know clearly that the majesty of our 5 ninja villages cannot be violated. The slightly elusive voice rolled backwards like thunder, and the calmness mixed with it hit the depths of everyone's soul. Yes, Lord Raikage of the 4th generation is right, this is a battle to wash away the shame of the 5 great ninja villages. In this battle, we absolutely have no turning back. We will definitely be able to defeat Uchiha Chinyu. How can a mere missing nin be the opponent of our 5 great ninja villages, and we can drown him even with a spit of saliva. Quote. Scene suddenly boiled, facing the thunderous words of the 4th generation Raikage, which obviously aroused the war in their hearts. This scene, the 4th generation Raikage flashed a trace of satisfaction on his face, and immediately raised his big hand up and continued to roar loudly. In this battle, we can only win, not lose. Let Uchiha Chinyu completely defeat the Gobi, and you will become heroes in every village. What awaits you will be the cheers of Gai's return. We will win the battle. We will win the battle. Tens of thousands of people shouted in unison in an instant, bringing a feeling of shaking the ground and shaking the whole Gobi Desert, and shivered. Reikage pushed the atmosphere in the field with a few words. Many of the elites in each village who followed them had different expressions. In particular, those who have seen Uchiha Chinyu's shot have their eyes twinkling in the depths of their pupils. Hehe, it seems that the morale of your 5 great ninja villages is really strong, which is beyond expectations. Black Zetsu's voice sounded suddenly. Soon I saw that the soil not far away turned outwards, and a figure emerged like a ghost. Looking at this sudden yin and yang face, the ninjas in the field couldn't help but stagnate, and they all looked at the shadows. After all, their 5 major ninja villages have been fighting each other for many years. For their respective ninja villages, there are some strong people, and I still know a little. However, the guy with the yin and yang face in front of him obviously gave people a strange feeling. Black Zetsu, you're finally here, Namikaze Minato said first. There was a hint of playfulness on Black Zetsu's face, and he was about to say something. The first thing that came into view was a fat face that was bruised and purple. Looking at this scene, Black Zetsu's expression froze. I didn't see you tonight, what happened? HMPH, it's only now, I thought you flinched. Fourth Reikage said coldly, his face sank. Facing the words that were obviously mixed with hostility, Black Zetsu didn't take it to heart, smiled playfully, and said, it seems that witch sealing technique has also satisfied the 4th generation of Reikage, otherwise it is not evil words that are waiting for me now, but a violent punch. For the character of the 4th generation of Reikage, the people present also felt the same. It can be said that whether it is the 3rd generation Reikage killed by Uchiha Chinyu, or the 4th generation Reikage, the characters are all vigorous and resolute. It is precisely because of the action style that the action is not in line with each other, which makes the major ninja villages have a headache. However, as Black Zetsu said, the current attitude of the 4th generation of Reikage, from the side, uses that sealing technique. HMPH, Black Zetsu, you're talking a lot of nonsense. Are you here to fight or fight? 4th generation Reikage snorted coldly, didn't you say that you have 100,000 man-made army? You're the only one now, so you won't be talking idioms without a reason. If so, I wouldn't mind twisting your head off. As soon as these words fell, the crackling arc of thunder suddenly skyrocketed on the 4th generation of Reikage. The tyrannical breath exploded like a frenzy and rolled back around. However, in the face of all this, Black Zetsu's expression remained the same. He looked at the 4th Reikage with a playful smile, and snapped his fingers with his right hand. 4th generation, be careful. An unexpected and urgent cry suddenly appeared. Everyone's expressions suddenly changed. Soon I saw the mud behind the 4th generation Reikage, which was quickly pierced. A pale figure burst out of the ground and turned into a figure like an iron tower. Roar! A violent roar resounded suddenly. Under a pair of tearful eyes, he raised his big hand like a grinding disc and smashed it directly at the 4th generation Reikage. The violent blow instantly tightened everyone's nerves. The attack that slammed down with force brought a stern sound of breaking through the air, and it was even more heard. At this close distance, it gives people a feeling that there is no way to hide. You bastard, give me death. The 4th generation of Reikage's expression sank, and the moment when the anger roared has already entered the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, and the speed of the explosion is not familiar to the naked eye at all. In the face of the huge fist that was thrown down, he just raised his hand to block at will, and the thunder light was wrapped around it, turning into a thunder light, and smashing straight towards White Zetsu's abdomen. Boom! Like a thunderous crash, it rolled and reverberated. The expressions of everyone in the field suddenly changed, and the tower-like body flew straight out. With the sound of a thunderous collision, the huge body smashed heavily on the cliff dozens of meters away. The huge impact caused the seemingly indestructible cliff to burst open. White Zetsu's abdomen collapsed directly, forming a huge hole. Chapter 407 The violent scene changed the expressions of everyone in the field. They never imagined that at this juncture, the so-called alliance would violently start. The fourth generation of Hokage's face sank, looked at Black Zetsu angrily, and said sharply, "Black Zetsu, what do you mean? If you want to assassinate me, can't you use some means that can be put on the table?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes were locked on Black Zetsu's body. 100,000 man-made troops. This is more than the ninja army they have assembled here. If this force is transferred, it will affect the entire battle situation. For a time, the atmosphere in the field changed. Hehe, fourth Hokage, you are as impulsive as the rumors say. Facing so many gazes, Black Zetsu gave a strange smile and said, "I'm just showing you, whether my 100,000 troops are qualified to be on an equal footing with your 5 great ninja villages." Equals. Hokage of the fourth generation snorted coldly, "I can kill one with one punch. If it's only this level, then don't be ashamed." The fall of these words undoubtedly aggravated the depressing atmosphere in the field. 3 generations of Hokage and the others couldn't help but let out a wry smile. For the violent scene in front of them, it can be said that it is beyond their cognition. Moreover, the strength of the fourth generation Hokage also made them unexpected. Black Zetsu is really forced back. 100,000 man-made troops, for them, is also a disaster. Hehe, the fourth generation of Hokage, we are allies, everyone's goal is Uchiha Chinyu, I wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Black Zetsu laughed strangely. Did you just say my subordinates are just chops? You can look back now. Roar. A low growl, as if responding to Black Zetsu's words. Originally smashed and flew, it was penetrated through the abdomen, and White Zetsu, like an iron tower, rushed out like a tiger and a leopard. A distance of tens of meters is just a few breaths. The tower-like White Zetsu came to Hokage of the fourth generation again, clenched his hands suddenly, like a warhammer, and slashed head-on. The violent scene suddenly changed the expressions of everyone in the field. In their eyes, a person whose stomach was penetrated should be dead and no longer dead. However, the scene in front of them was beyond their cognition. The fourth generation Hokage's expression also changed slightly. This time, he didn't make a move. The lightning on his body skyrocketed like a frenzy. The next moment, like a ghost, he disappeared out of thin air. Boom. The combined hands hit the ground like a war hammer. The huge impact force made the solid rock ground shatter. However, after this shot down, the huge tower-like body of White Zetsu stopped chasing after him. Standing in the same place, looking fierce, he looked around. The originally penetrated abdomen, those white flesh and blood, rolled quickly and healed under the watchful eyes of the public. The strange scene made everyone in the field look slightly changed. 4 generations of Hokage who face Grandmaster Ninjutsu. It can be said that the ninjas present, including the cage-level powerhouses, were not confident enough to take the 4-generation Hokage thunder-like punch. However, the so-called man-made weapon in front of him had nothing to do with it after suffering the blow. This is beyond their comprehension. To Black Zetsu, the 100,000 man-made troops possess this so-called immortality. That would be a nightmare for any ninja village. Hehe, you should have seen that the miscellaneous soldiers in the mouth of the 4th-generation Hokage, my 100,000 man-made soldiers, have a different kind of immortality. Seeing the different expressions of everyone, Black Zetsu smiled playfully. If I tell you, they can still perform ninjutsu. Can you still perform ninjutsu? Everyone present, whether it is Rasa and others, even the fourth generation of Hokage, suddenly changed their expressions. The immortality has already made people feel hopeless. If they can still perform ninjutsu, the level of difficulty is definitely not under Chunin, or even under Jonin in particular. This artificial force should only obey a single combat order. The third generation of Hokage suddenly said. As soon as these words fell, the expressions of the ninjas present changed slightly, and some people were secretly relieved. These white Zetsu have immortality and no ninjutsu, which makes people feel terrible indeed. But without intelligence, that's another story. No matter how powerful it is, it can only be reduced to a beast. As long as they cooperate properly, it is not difficult to deal with white Zetsu. HMPH, you guessed the third Hokage wrong. Black Zetsu's face sank. However, this white Zetsu is in my army of 100,000, and it is only in the middle. Some white Zetsu in the upper layer have a will comparable to that of humans, which is enough to command these armies. He played in this way, all for his own sake, and then to take the initiative in the next move. I never thought that the 3 generations of Hokage would see through it so quickly. Originally, he planned to hide this as a backup for the battle. Still possessing an IQ, the 4th generation Hokage's expression changed slightly. The remaining cage-level powerhouses are no exception. A pig that raises 100,000 pigs is a completely different definition than having a lineup that can command 100,000 pigs. Seeing that the atmosphere in the arena changed again, the smile on Black Zetsu's face grew even more. A playful smile, he said, "Don't worry, we are allies and have a common enemy, Uchiha Chinyu. So you don't need to be so nervous about me at all." Having said that, Black Zetsu took out a quaint scroll with his backhand, which was already covered with dust, and said with a dry smile, "Let's stop talking nonsense. To avoid Uchiha Chinyu's exploits and surprises, now let me wake me up first. The 100,000 army, let's go to meet them together and enter the battlefield." The awe-inspiring voice came out of Black Zetsu's mouth. On such an occasion, as long as he raised his hands a little and laughed loudly, he would definitely exude the smell of a big boss behind the scenes. Before everyone could react, his hands flew quickly, and the ancient scroll was spread out on the ground. After forming a series of spells, he suddenly pressed it towards the ground. Boom! A low burst of air suddenly came, and at the same time the mysterious magic seal spread quickly. Black Zetsu's face suddenly stiffened as the aura shot out. The next moment, before everyone reacts, Black Zetsu shook his head and exclaimed, "It's impossible, it's impossible. How I can't get in touch with them, what the hell is going on?" The murmured words, at the end, were mixed with a smell like crazy, echoing in this world, and there was no way to disperse for a long time. Chapter 408. When something goes wrong, there must be a demon. The sudden scene shocked everyone in the field. In their eyes, the Black Zetsu of the previous moment was still in high spirits. Now it feels like a madman who has lost his beloved toy. "Black Zetsu, what happened? You just said, where is the awakened army?" Hokage, the 4th generation, exclaimed anxiously. "When things go wrong, there must be demons. At this juncture, anything that can weaken the strength of their alliance. That's all bad news." "Shut up," Black Zetsu roared with a ghastly face. "I have lost contact with my army, this is absolutely impossible. Except for a limited number of people like Namikaze Minato, absolutely no one knows where my army is." The hysterical voice, like an invisible big hand, suddenly clenched everyone's heart. Those present, before they could react, saw urgency on Black Zetsu's face. "Before I could think about it, I just pulled away and stormed off into the distance." The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, and even the cage-level powerhouses present had their expressions changed drastically. After seeing with his own eyes, the pervert means possessed by white Zetsu. For their 5 great ninja villages, this artificial force is the best cannon fodder to deal with Uchiha Chinyu. It is also the best way to reduce the loss of their ninja village. After all, after the Third Ninja World War, their own strength has been weakened a lot. Ninja village is even more wasteful. If you have to go through the Fourth Ninja War that follows one after another, those waiting for the 5 great ninja villages may be severely injured. It is for these many reasons. When the 4th generation of Hokage Namikaze Minato proposed the addition of Black Zetsu, everyone would reluctantly accept it. However, the scene in front of them now far exceeded their expectations. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe it? At this juncture, the 100,000 man-made force would suddenly lose contact with Black Zetsu. The 3rd generation of Hokage, what are we going to do now? The 4th generation of Raikage said in a deep voice. As the initiator of the 5 Great Ninja Village Alliance, the 3 generations of Hokage have an absolute right to speak, whether it is seniority or just a word. For a time, the eyes of everyone in the field turned and locked on the 3rd generation of Hokage. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the field, the 3 generations of Hokage's expression darkened slightly, and then he said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I think everyone has the answer in their hearts. However, based on what I know about Black Zetsu, he just loved his face and planned to give us a slap in the face. With this style of behavior, he should not lose the chain at this juncture. So, there must be something wrong with his army of 100,000 white Zetsu." Having said that, the 3rd generation of Hokage looked around the field and said in a deep voice, "We now have 2 choices. First, follow Black Zetsu to the place where the 100,000 white Zetsu army is hidden, but the premise is that we all act together to avoid Black Zetsu's tricks and let us to break them one by one. Second, we stop cooperating with Black Zetsu's alliance. No matter what happens to his army of 100,000 white Zetsu, we will deal with it alone. However, we have to keep an eye on it. In case there is no accident with the 100,000 white Zetsu army, our decision will probably push the Black Zetsu to the side of Uchiha Chinyu. Before facing Uchiha Chinyu who doesn't know the details, I'm afraid you will have to fight the backlash of 100,000 white Zetsu, so I hope you can choose carefully." The slightly elusive voice reverberated in the 4 directions of the sky, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. Hokage where the old god is present, the remaining 4 cage-level powerhouses also have a change in expressions on their faces. After a short while, the 4 cage-level powerhouses looked at each other and said in unison, "Uchiha Chinyu hasn't appeared yet, let's go see it together." As soon as these words came out, the army of tens of thousands of ninjas waiting below nodded in agreement. Facing a Uchiha Chinyu has already caused them enormous psychological pressure. Now there are 100,000 white Zetsu. If they become their own enemies, no one is willing to accept this huge gap. Okay, then let's set off immediately. Seeing this, the 3rd generation Hokage waved his big hand suddenly, and gave an order in a deep voice. The voice fell, and the 6 cage-level powerhouses present were the first to storm out. Immediately behind them, there are the most elite fighting forces in the major ninja villages. When they crossed the cliff and landed in the desert, tens of thousands of ninja coalition forces were directly bombed. As dense as locusts, they converged into a torrent, chasing straight away. Tens of thousands of people marched, giving people an inexplicable depressing atmosphere. But the 5 ninja villages act together, and at any time, it is an unbelievable scene. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, who would have believed that the 5 great ninja villages, which have always been war-torn and strife, would have come this far in order to fight against a missing nin from a Konoha ninja village? Black Zetsu's breath is not hidden like before. There are a lot of chakra fluctuations in the air, and it seems that he is very anxious and should be able to catch up. Yamanaka Inoichi, who was next to the third generation of Hokage, Hand Seal, suddenly opened his tightly closed eyes and looked in the direction where Black Zetsu left. As one of the top 10 ninja tribes in Konoha Ninja Village, Yamanaka Inoichi has enough right to speak. Let's speed up our pace. It seems that something really happened to Black Zetsu's 100,000 army. The third generation of Hokage's expression sank, and he gave the order again. The large army of tens of thousands of people, the speed of the march has accelerated again. The only thing fortunate is that this time the battlefield was chosen in the Gobi. Otherwise, tens of thousands of people would travel through the forest, and everyone would step on the branches of a tree, and I'm afraid everyone would fall without falling. The torrent of tens of thousands of people hurried on the road for 20 or 30 minutes. After crossing 20 or 30 kilometers, Yamanaka Inoichi's closed eyes opened again. Black Zetsu's breath stopped 2 miles ahead, but his position seems to be a little deep. Yamanaka Inoichi frowned and said in confusion. The location is a bit deep. 3 generations of Hokage also changed slightly. However, before he could speak, the 4th generation Raikage on the side snorted coldly. Hey, he wants to hide a 100,000 man-made army under the eyes of our 5 great ninja villages. If it wasn't underground, we would have already discovered it. The relationship between the 5 ninja villages has been unstable. It is for this reason that everyone's eyeliners are definitely not few in the country of fire. A single sesame may not be able to detect it, but if 100,000 man-made army really appeared on the earth, it would be a blind man. Otherwise it would be strange not to know. However, this idea just sprouted in their minds, and the next moment crossed the rock forest in front of them. The first scene that came into view was like an invisible hammer, hitting everyone's nerves. Looking at the scene in front of me, I almost split my eyes. When things go wrong, there must be demons. But it can definitely be called a big demon. Chapter 409 The Son Beats the Father. On the huge Gobi Desert, an indescribably depressing atmosphere clenched everyone's heart like an invisible big hand. Looking at the front, it is as shocking as a cliff and abyss. White Zetsu lying on the edge one after another. The black flames wrapped around his body, the heat radiated, made the spine sweat. White Zetsu, who claims to have an immortal body, in this blazing black flame, in addition to making a howling hissing sound. It can only struggle and crawl through the abyss-like ruins. The so-called immortal body, under the black flame, obviously has a pale and powerless feeling. No matter how they tumbled on the ground, the black flames on their bodies showed no signs of going out at all. The burning speed gave people a feeling like maggots on toe bones. In just a few tens of seconds, the huge body like an iron tower was burned to ashes. The faces of everyone who witnessed this scene were even more pale. It was like an invisible big hand clenching the heart tightly. Who, come out quickly. Black Zetsu growled hysterically. Yuan's stared eyes were almost split, looking around the huge ruins, can't wait to dig 3 feet directly to find people. Faced with Black Zetsu's madness, the people present couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. 100,000 White Zetsu artificial army, if it is really killed. That was simply heart-wrenching. The black inextinguishable flame, only Uchiha Chinyu can display it. He won't find this place in advance and kill all the 100,000 White Zetsu army. Jiraiya's voice suddenly sounded, instantly tense everyone's nerves. Uchiha Chinyu also appeared in the hearts of many people. However, no one dared to jump to conclusions. After all, the scene in front of him was too shocking. The 100,000 strong White Zetsu army has immortality, ninjutsu, and very few people have an IQ comparable to that of humans. Such a powerful man-made core is an existence that even their 5 major ninja villages are afraid of. However, the place where the White Zetsu army was hiding was turned into an abyss. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe this is true? Uchiha Chinyu, get out of here, I'm going to kill you. Black Zetsu was startled at first, then roared hysterically. In his eyes, White Zetsu's real hiding place, but even Uchiha Madara doesn't know. However, now it has been destroyed without anyone knowing it, which is beyond his plan. Are you looking for me? An indifferent voice came softly, shaking everyone's nerves. The eyes of tens of thousands of people in the audience turned and followed the sound. The first thing that came into view was a thin figure that appeared like a ghost on the huge meteorite. That breezy attitude, as well as the auspicious cloud robe with the black yuhi bottom, and the spotless attitude, is simply a feeling of stunned. In their eyes, killing a strong, immortal White Zetsu also has the heart to fight to the death. However, if the person in front of him really single-handedly killed 100,000 White Zetsu, the robe on that body can still be spotless. It was a nightmare for them. Let me ask among them, the coalition forces of the 5 great ninja villages, according to incomplete statistics, only have more than 50,000 people. Compared to the so-called artificial White Zetsu army, that was almost a fraction. If, even 100,000 man-made White Zetsu army, is not the opponent of Uchiha Chinyu, are they going to die then? Chaotic thoughts flashed in their minds. Everyone's eyes, subconsciously, looked at the 6 cage-level powerhouses. Lord Hokage of the 3rd generation, Sarutobi Asuma, one of the 12 guardians of the Guardian Ninja, urgently sent a message on behalf of the great name of Yuhuo. A hurried shout came from a distance. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Looking at the sound, he was the first to catch the eye, and it was 2 figures rushing to the scene. Among them, the one who fell behind was Sarutobi Asuma with a tired face. After all, unlike Uchiha Chinyu, Sarutobi Asuma does not know time and space ninjutsu. Looking at this scene, the 3rd generation of Hokage couldn't help but sank. This is where the army of the 5 Ninja Village Alliance is located. Under the watchful eyes of all the people, Sarutobi Hiruzen, his son, came in such a panic, which obviously damaged the face of Konoha Ninja Village. Thinking of this, the 3rd generation of Hokage's face sank, and he shouted sharply, Sarutobi Asuma, there is something panicking. If there is nothing important, then wait for the return of our 5 great ninja village allied force guys on, let's talk in detail. Voice fell, and the turbid old eyes of the 3 generations of Hokage lit up like torches. After looking at each other with the other 4 cage-level powerhouses, they were about to speak. Then I saw Namikaze Minato beside me, disappearing in place like a ghost. Appeared again, and has come to a place not far from Sarutobi Asuma. Asuma, is the daimyo going to cheer us up? I'll take you to the side of the 3 generations of Hokage. Namikaze Minato came to Sarutobi Asuma's side. He could react. Namikaze Minato grabbed Asuma's shoulder with his right hand, and the moment he squeezed the Hiraishin seal in his hand, it disappeared like a ghost. When he appeared again, Sarutobi Asuma had come to the side of the 3rd generation of Hokage. The face of Namikaze Minato's unauthorized actions, the 3rd generation Hokage frowned, slightly displeased, but did not hold him accountable. The face of Sarutobi Shinosuke, who is known as one of the 8 colors of Konoha, this younger brother, Sarutobi Asuma, obviously makes the 3 generations of Hokage a little unwelcome. Sarutobi Asuma, who was running back all the way, out of breath, a trace of impatience flashed on the face of the 3rd generation Hokage, and he said in a deep voice, Asuma, we have heard the motivational words of the daimyo, if you have nothing to do, go first. Step aside. Talking, the 3rd generation Hokage waved his hand casually, and then turned to look at the 4th generation Raikage. However, as soon as this scene appeared, a sharp knife sound resounded suddenly. The snow-white cold light is like a drill, and it is forbidden to swept away from the throat of the third-generation Hokage. The unexpected move instantly tensed everyone's nerves. Although most of the people present did not know the bad relationship between the three generations of Hokage and Sarutobi Asuma. But this son's stance against Leodu was completely unexpected. Mention Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato, even the three generations of Hokage are no exception. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on the body of the third generation of Hokage, showing a look of confusion. Only Uchiha Chinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly. As expected, the famous feathered fire still couldn't hold back and got involved in this matter. Chapter 410 will be subject to foreign military orders. The violent posture made the expressions of everyone present, including several cage-level powerhouses, suddenly change drastically. Third generation of Hokage felt the chakra knife on his neck, his face was somber to ultimate. If it weren't for the fact that he was in the public eye, he would slap the disdainful son to the ground with one palm. The anger in his heart, the three generations of Hokage bit Kiba word by word and said, "Sarutobi Asuma, do you know what you are doing? On this one move, I can designate you as missing nin. If you don't give me a reasonable answer today, I will ban you in public." The awe-inspiring voice, when it came to the end, had a taste of decisiveness. A smell of slaughter, before the battle with Uchiha Chinyu, permeated the five great ninja village alliances. For a time, everyone's eyes were fixed on the violent Sarutobi Asuma. Namikaze Minato also had a hint of apology on his face, if he had known that things would have evolved to this level. He would not use Sarutobi Asuma to perform Hiraishin's art. Once something happens, no matter what the conclusion is, he can't get rid of it. "Dad, I have to do this for the sake of Konoha Ninja Village, or you won't listen to me at all." Sarutobi Asuma's face flashed an apology. The chakra knife held in the right hand did not move away, and the left hand turned over at the waist to take out a scroll. "Dad, this is a joint decision of the three big names to hand Kyuubi, Nine Tails to Uchiha Chinyu and withdraw from the Battle of the Five Ninja Village Alliance. If you insist on doing it, you will destroy the hard work of Hokage in all dynasties." "Once," Sarutobi Asuma exclaimed anxiously. A small voice, at this moment, swept the audience like a hurricane. Looking at the scroll unfolded in Sarutobi Asuma's hand, after the magic seal on it was undone, three great names that belonged to the country of fire were revealed, representing their identity. There is also the content of the book above, which is exactly the same as what Sarutobi Asuma said. The violent scene made everyone look stunned. Some even swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The relationship between the five great ninja villages and the five great nations seems to be dependent. However, if it is really investigated, the major ninja villages, except for the inheritance of cage-level powerhouses, need to be approved by the daimyo. At other times, the filmmakers have the right to make decisions about everything in the village. Moreover, in this wartime situation, this kind of autonomy can also be implemented at any time without passing the daimyo to deal with any disaster that threatens the country and the ninja village. It can be said that in the face of the war game, Wying is the spokesperson. However, now the three big names in the country of fire suddenly jointly issued an order to let Konoha Shinobi Village hand over Kyuubi, Nine Tails, and withdraw from the war against Uchiha Chinyu. This is undoubtedly beyond everyone's expectations. Sarutobi Asuma, do you know what nonsense you are talking about? Three generations of Hokage's face sank and roared. His right hand abruptly looked up, and with a lightning-quick gesture, he snatched the chakra gauntlet from Sarutobi Asuma's hand. The next moment, he was castrated unabated and cut off the daimyo oracle in the hands of Sarutobi Asuma. The violent scene once again shook everyone's nerves. This is an oral oracle from the daimyo, let's not talk about its authenticity. However, if this matter reaches the ears of the daimyo, it will damage the trust of the daimyo of the Land of Fire in the Konoha shinobi village. When a black cold light, like a pistol, shot out without warning. One step ahead, bumped into the chakra gauntlet in the hands of the third-generation Hokage. The sparks splashed, and the huge impact force made the gauntlet fly out of his hand, and finally slanted into the ground not far away. As for Kunai, who rushed in first, he cut through the scroll in Sarutobi Asuma's hand and stuck it directly on the ground behind him. Looking at this sudden scene, let alone the three generations of Hokage and others, even Sarutobi Asuma couldn't help but froze in place. Uchiha Chinyu, who provoked the war. Lord Chinyu, what are you doing? This is a daimyo's oracle. Don't you want Kyubi, Nine Tails? Sarutobi Asuma was the first to lose his temper and asked anxiously. The eyes of the people present were also fixed on Chinyu. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were the same as Sarutobi Asuma. As long as you are not a fool, you can know that this decree is beneficial to Uchiha Chinyu. If you win without fighting, you can get the Kyubi, Nine Tails, of Konoha Ninja Village. Who wouldn't want to? Haha, you shouldn't be involved in this kind of mother-in-law's business. Chinyu laughed dryly. That Yuhuo is also nosy. When he says what I like, he grabs it with his hands. Three generations of Hokage, don't be stunned. You will be subject to foreign military orders. I want to see your determination in this battle and your cards. Fell, Chinyu's eyes turned in vain, and locked on the body of the third-generation Hokage. Faced with this provocation from Kai Guago, the expressions of the people present suddenly changed, and before they could think about it, the awe-inspiring voice of the three generations of Hokage could be heard in their ears. Okay, a good sentence will be subject to foreign military orders. The three generations of Hokage said good things twice. His right hand suddenly clenched, and he said sharply. I have read countless people in my life, and I never thought I would overlook you. The courage you possess is indeed beyond the comparison of ordinary people. Having said that, the third generation of Hokage looked around the field and continued to say sharply, this time, our 5 ninja villages are gathered here, and we have already held the heart of a deadly fight. I don't know how you killed the 100,000 white Zetsu, but since you came out of our Konoha shinobi village, as the third generation of Hokage, I have an irresponsible responsibility. Although this ninjutsu is a technique banned by the teacher, in order to deal with you, the only thing I can do is to assume the name of a sinner and use the name of the shadows of the past to judge your crimes. The slightly elusive voice reverberated between heaven and earth like thunder. Jiraiya on the side heard the words, sighed with a complicated expression, and walked out. With his backhand, he pulled out the huge scroll behind him and spread it flat on the ground. 3 mysterious spell seals were the first to catch everyone's eyes. The center where the curse seals gathered, and the words written on it, shook the nerves of everyone. Man Matsuri. This is the forbidden technique. 3 generations of Hokage actually need to use Matsuri's forbidden technique. There was an uproar in the field. In their eyes, if Uchiha Chinyu is the incarnation of evil who provoked the war, then the 3 generations of Hokage are the incarnation of justice who presided over this battle and fought against Uchiha Chinyu. However, now the 3rd generation of Hokage has pulled out a scroll of a living Matsuri product. It is still the forbidden technique to be performed. That's a bit too big for anyone. Looking at the familiar curse mark, Chinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly, and couldn't help but say, I said, this won't be your trump card, will it? Chapter 411 The wrong way to open the trump card. Is this your trump card? Could it be that the strange voice made everyone in the field startled? In their eyes, the use of live Matsuri products is a powerful forbidden technique. However, now in Chinyu's eyes, it gives people a feeling of disappointment. This is unavoidable. Uchiha Chinyu, I know this forbidden technique, you may too, but as the inheritor of the will of fire, it will be the biggest killer of our Konoha ninja village, the shadow of the past dynasties, the majesty cannot be humiliated. 3 generations of Hokage. His expression sank. At the moment when the voice fell, he did not take into account the many eyes in the field, and with the movement of his hands, it quickly turned like a wheel. Dozens of spells, in the hands of the 3rd generation of Hokage, were completed in an instant. This kind of hand seal's speed of performing techniques does not humiliate his title as a ninjutsu professor at all. But the last magic seal fell, and the 3rd generation Hokage's eyes were like torches, and his right hand roared and shot towards the scroll. The art of psychic impure world reincarnation. Roaring like thunder, it brought forth a sense of indomitable awe, which made everyone in the field startled at the same time. Sarutobi Asuma was stunned, and couldn't help but said coldly, "Dad, is this your trump card? Let's not be ashamed, hurry up and admit defeat." The small voice instantly overwhelmed the awe-inspiring voice of the 3 generations of Hokage. Hokage, who was originally a rainbow-like force, almost fell to the ground with a stumble. If it wasn't for the image, he and Jiraiya pulled Sarutobi Asuma away in time. "I'm afraid the father and son will really fight together." Roar. However, before everyone could react, 3 roars suddenly sounded. The living Matsuri product on the scroll, like endless dust twisting, quickly transformed into 3 figures. That hideous appearance, under the rapid reorganization, was the first scene that touched everyone's nerves. This is the first Hokage and the second Hokage. No, you can see it clearly, there is that person, it seems to be Uchiha Madara, the legend of the Uchiha family. The hurried exclamation shook everyone's nerves. If you say Senju Tobirama, in the ninja world, he is a ninja with outstanding strength. That Uchiha Madara, and Senju Hashirama, that is known as a godlike existence. Konoha Ninja Village with 2 giants, the ninja world at that time was their era. It can be said that the infighting in Konoha Shinobi Village, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara's death, gave them a sense of relief. However, these characters are now resurrected by forbidden technique. No one dared to question the power they possessed. After all, this was regarded by the 3 generations of Hokage as a means to clean up the portal against Uchiha Chinyu. The strength it possesses is definitely not weak. What's more, if this is the strength of one's own side, it is a strong and powerful shield for anyone. Brother, is this what impure world reincarnation feels like? Senju Tobirama's voice sounded first. However, the moment he saw Uchiha Madara, his expression sank, and the chakra dormant in his body detonated directly. Boom! The breath like a hurricane turned into a frenzy, and the look of the ninjas in the field changed drastically. Being exposed to this burst of breath gave them the feeling that they were in a hurricane. If it is not for personal experience, no one wants to believe that someone can cause such coercion by breaking out of chakra alone. Tobirama, put your fingers down. The original Hokage rolled his eyes and said, I didn't expect to be summoned again in just one day. It seems that the 4th Ninja War is still unfolding. Uchiha Chinyu, we meet again. Speaking of this, the first Hokage raised his hand towards Chinyu, and the look of intimacy was simply stunned. Teacher, this is... The 3rd generation of Hokage was also stunned. He was the first to lose his breath and hurriedly said. This is his method of pressing the bottom of the box, and it is also one of the strengths of the decisive battle. However, as soon as it appeared, the trump card that should have turned the situation around. The way this trump card opens has the wrong feeling. It turned out to be a monkey. I didn't expect you to use this forbidden technique. Senju Tobirama glanced at the original Hokage, and put his taut fingers down. He said coldly, that guy has used impure world reincarnation and summoned his eldest brother several times. And Uchiha Madara over there. Having said that, Senju Tobirama subconsciously looked at the arrogant back, and said in a deep voice, I heard that he and Uchiha Chinyu used Impure World Reincarnation's undead body to fight several times, and they all lost in the end. The strength of Uchiha Madara at that time reached 70% of its heyday. 70%. The expressions of the people present changed drastically. For them, such things are simply secrets. No one would have imagined that Uchiha Chinyu would have fought against the legend of the Uchiha family of the next generation and defeated him. If you don't hear it with your own ears, who wants to believe it? Monkey, the purity of your impure world reincarnation. Senju Tobirama came back to his senses and remembered the most important question. 40%. The bastard has only 40% of the strength of the heyday, and the guy who uses impure world reincarnation is simply inferior to 1. Uchiha Madara's face sank, and he growled in anger. The chakra pressure dormant in the body was directly detonated like a volcanic eruption. That rolling and sweeping situation shook everyone's nerves. In the round eyes, there was disbelief. Haven't seen pigs, but they have eaten pork too. They don't know how strong Uchiha Madara 70% is. But the 40% aura that burst out just now gave them the feeling that it was completely superior to Senju Tobirama. With such strength, even the shadows in their shinobi village cannot easily reach it. However, now someone tells them that Uchiha Madara, who is 70% powerful, has impure world reincarnation's undead body, but he can't beat Uchiha Chinyu. The trump card that they considered Konoha shinobi village's greatest help. Totally a paper tiger. The huge gap between their original expectations and the current situation made them immediately understand that the name of the Kingdom of Fire just now had good intentions. Sarutobi Asuma's beating dad is even more commendable. Haha, you don't need to worry, that kid is also collecting tailed beasts. Senju Hashirama laughed indifferently. Also, I heard that those tailed beasts like him very much. As long as you give him the tail beast, it can be considered to avoid a battle, and you don't have to worry about the tail beast riot in the future. Of course, I was summoned. If you say you must fight, then I can only fight back. Chapter 412 _ What is humiliation? The small voice brought an inexplicable smell of slaughter, making the atmosphere in the field suddenly depressed. Facing the attitude of the first Hokage, the expressions of everyone in the field suddenly changed slightly. If it is said that the god of ninjas has the strength of the heyday, as their help, they may be able to be happy. However, the current Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, only 40% of the strength of the heyday. Maybe a dead camel is bigger than a horse. Uchiha Chinyu in front of him is not a paper tiger. 100,000 man-made white Zetsu can also be easily destroyed. I'm afraid it's not enough to see them together. Messy thoughts flashed through the minds of everyone present, and their eyes were locked on the third generation of Hokage. If they hadn't seen the scene where 100,000 white Zetsu was killed, they might still have the heart to fight against Uchiha Chinyu. But this scene in front of him undoubtedly played the role of killing chickens and warning monkeys. For a mortal situation, no one is willing to die. HMPH, mother-in-law's guy. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly and said disdainfully, that kid summoned me last time, but he had 80% of his strength. I said that without the strength of his heyday, I will not fight him again. Uchiha Madara looked at Chinyu coldly, then went straight to the side and sat cross-legged on the ground. That posture obviously intends to stay out of the way. After all, having been abused in private several times before has already made Uchiha Madara's face unbearable. Not to mention, in such a large audience, knowing that they will lose, they still have to take action. That's self-inflicted humiliation. Looking at this scene, the nerves of the people who were originally timid were tense, like a straw. HMPH, we didn't expect that the Uchiha clan would take action. Senju Tobirama said suddenly. The moment his eyes fell on Chinyu, he disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Appearing again, he has already come one step behind Chinyu. The right hand suddenly turned over, revealing the detonating talisman in his hand. Without any bells and whistles, he directly patted Chinyu's body. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. The face of Senju Tobarama's shot, everyone just felt a flash in front of them, and their eyes were obviously unable to keep up the speed of this instant technique. However, this speed only reached 40% of their heyday. If it is the heyday, it can definitely be called super speed. Don't underestimate them with only 40% of their strength. The power of legends cannot be described in words. 2 days ago, Onoki spoke with a solemn expression. "We're ready to shoot too." The awe-inspiring voice tightened everyone's nerves. However, in the face of the violent Senju Tobarama, Chinyu said with a playful smile, "Is this the technique you use to detonate each other's talismans for the purpose of restraint, impure world reincarnation?" You know, Senju Tobarama's expression changed suddenly. When he developed the technique of impure world reincarnation that day, the required Matsuri products were too inhumane, and the peace of those who intruded on Huang Izumi was disturbed. By Senju Hashirama to destroy this ninjutsu. However, as his own efforts, it was still pervert's ninjutsu, and Senju Tobarama didn't want to let it disappear at all. Forbidden technique in the name of beauty, and sealed it up, and researched the technique of exploding each other that he thought could restrain impure world reincarnation. All just to let future generations remember the highlight of his Senju Tobarama. Uchiha Chinyu, who was able to break his forbidden technique, he didn't take things to heart. Senju Tobarama's face sank, and his hands clasped together suddenly, forming a spell. Blast me! As soon as the low roar came out, the detonating talisman that was originally attached to Chinyu's body instantly burst into flames. At the same time, Senju Tobarama disappeared like a ghost out of thin air. At the same time, the two ninjutsus were almost completed in an instant, which surprised everyone. Boom! A thunderous explosion sounded first, and the fiery air wave rolled back like a frenzy. The faces of the people present changed suddenly, and in the blast of air, one after another detonating talisman was instantly channeled out. At the same time, these detonators continued to be detonated. Under such a cycle, a dense saturated explosion storm was formed, which directly submerged the radius of tens of meters where Uchiha Chinyu was located. The places that were affected along the way were torn to shreds like a piece of paper. Seeing the blast of air rising into the sky, the nerves of the onlookers suddenly became tense. Some people couldn't hold their breath, and they muttered in shock. Is this the strength of Konoha's second-generation Hokage? It's definitely the first person to be able to use the detonator talisman to such a degree. The power of this explosive talisman also uses the means of psychic communication to increase the originally limited attack power by dozens or even 100 times in an instant. Facing this kind of attack, I am afraid that even the shadow will not be able to retreat. The scene suddenly boiled. After all, in their cognition, the role of the detonating talisman was to harass the enemy by surprise. It's nice to be able to smash a light wound. To achieve such a saturated attack, no one dared to imagine. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the arena, the 2-day-old Onoki who was planning to take action snorted coldly. HMPH, don't forget, this Senju Tobarama is the ninjutsu master of Konoha Ninja Village. His ability is not something you juniors can do. Figure out. However, just after this evaluation came down, the voices floating not far away made the nerves of everyone in the field tense. Boring. Uchiha Madara raised his eyelids disdainfully and said, if we can defeat him with a single ninjutsu move, we won't be channeled over and over again. Hashirama, your younger brother is still so naive, this is a self-inflicted insult. You. Senju Tobarama's face sank, and a trace of anger flashed in the depths of his pupils. However, before he could react, Senju Hashirama's roar suddenly sounded. Be careful. Mokuten, wood style, Senju art. Senju Hashirama let out an urgent cry, and when his hands clasped together suddenly, 2 tree roots burst out of the ground like horned dragons, and wrapped around Senju Tobarama's waist with lightning speed. The violent scene made Tobarama's expression change suddenly, and before he had time to think about it, strong spatial fluctuations emerged behind him. A figure like a ghost came behind him. Knives out. The thunder light bloomed in full view, and an arm even flew up, although there was no blood splashing. But it also tightened everyone's nerves. After all, this is one of the legends of Konoha Ninja Village. The existence of playing the detonator very smoothly. However, all this if not for Senju Hashirama's help. I'm afraid it's not the arm that was thrown away, but the head is in a different place. At this moment, they finally understood what Uchiha Madara meant by self-inflicted humiliation. Chapter 413 Even the tailed beast was thrown away. PFF'd. The crackling thunder light splashed, raging like a horse training in the heaven and earth. Looking at the flying arm, when everyone's pupils contracted suddenly, they had a deeper understanding of Uchiha Madara's words. Big brother. As soon as Senju Tobarama came to Senju Hashirama's side, he subconsciously covered his arm. Don't look at it, this is the body of impure world reincarnation. This knife will not cause much damage to you. Senju Hashirama glanced lightly and said, however, you were too underestimated just now. Don't take this kid lightly because he is too young. If Madara is to evaluate, this kid's strength is probably stronger than our heyday. The small voice was like an invisible big hand at this moment, and instantly clenched everyone's heart. They knew that Uchiha Chinyu's strength was no small matter. But all this is their guess. A vague guess just makes people feel worried about the unknown. But after a real understanding, what you get will be trembling. Let me ask, what evaluation is more authoritative than the affirmation from the god of ninjas? What's more, in the face of Senju Hashirama's evaluation, Uchiha Madara, who was aloof, didn't even say a word. This alone is enough to see that he also agrees with Senju Hashirama's evaluation. The first generation, if you are like this, the game is no longer fun. Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, are you guys going to play together or wait to die one by one? Madness. Arrogant. Facing the invitation to battle that Chinyu issued alone. What a domineering move to single out the entire ninja world. However, in the face of this kind of rhetoric, the huge situation suddenly fell into a dead silence, and no one responded first. Such a scene made the dignified coalition suddenly embarrassed. Do it, the fourth generation Raikage roared angrily. In his eyes, regardless of old or new hatred, the only thing he can do now is to let go and fight. Let him hand over Killer Bee, one of the most powerful warriors in Kumogakure village, he can't do this kind of thing. Yo-yo, Big Brother is right, there are so many of us, we can't believe it, we can't beat this person. Killer Bee rapped to keep up. The crackling thunder light suddenly skyrocketed on the fourth generation Raikage. The tower-like body, with the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode activated, the speed soars to ultimate. The fourth generation Raikage, once known as the fastest in the ninja world. At a distance of 100 meters, in the eyes of everyone, it was only a blink of an eye. Raikage, who was bathed in thunder light, had already come to Chinyu and waited for me. Uchiha Chinyu's chest like a giant hammer filled with thunder. Boom. With a punch, it was like a fierce wind-like frenzy that rolled away. The distance that was so close at hand was also approaching in the blink of an eye. However, before everyone could react, Chinyu suddenly moved. In the right hand detonated, and the black Madara lightning pattern unfolded directly. Without any bells and whistles, he punched him in the face. Boom. The fists that were not trying to give in at all collided together, and the thunder light splashed down, and the air wave brought heavy pressure, directly shattering the ground under his feet. At the same time, the pupils of the fourth generation Reikage shrank suddenly, and the words that fell in his ears shook his nerves. "I got you, Yao." The small voices seemed to be filled with magic sounds at this moment. As the AB combination of Kumogakure village, the fourth generation Reikage and Killer Bee are best at the combination battle of Thunder Plow and Hot Knife. Under the tacit understanding of the long-term battle, as long as the fourth generation Reikage shoots, Killer Bee will assist from the back. It is wrapped around the waist of the fourth Reikage with 8-tailed octopus feet. Whether it is the fourth generation Reikage that succeeds or misses, Killer Bee can also respond quickly. Is it to pursue, or to pull back the fourth generation Reikage who missed the attack? However, the fourth generation of Reikage never imagined that this tacit understanding would give Uchiha Chinyu an opportunity. Looking at Chinyu's lightning-like right hand, he buckled it on the 8-tailed octopus's leg. Before the people present could react, Chinyu's 5 fingers on his right hand suddenly tightened, and under the protruding muscles, a tyrannical force erupted. "Come out to me." Bang! Killer Bee, who follows the fourth generation of Reikage, feels like he is being pulled by a whale. The speed of the flight is even more unbelievable. The 8-tailed bull ghost, in desperation, could only stick out the remaining 7 octopus legs and fasten them to the ground, intending to do some buffering. However, all these efforts seem to be in vain at this moment. Just as the heavy ground was fastened, the solid rock formations collapsed. A large piece of rock collapsed, and sand and dust rolled up. The next moment, everyone saw Killer Bee, like a cannonball, smashing heavily on the deep crater meteorite not far away. The huge impact was accompanied by a thunder-like collision sound. The meteorite was also smashed head-on. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Although, Uchiha Chinyu chose the counterattack time very accurately. However, the fourth generation of Reikage, and the AB combination of Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force were defeated in one shot. Moreover, under the wrestling, even the tailed beast was pulled away. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe this is true? The art of mutual haraishin. Senju Tobarama's roar suddenly sounded. Like a ghostly figure, he appeared on Chinyu's side first, and then reached out and buckled on the fourth generation Reikage. He could react. Senju Tobarama disappeared like a ghost with 4 generations of Reikage. When it reappeared, Senju Tobarama's roar sounded again. Sunagakure village, if you don't do it now, when will you wait? Sandstorm double burial. Rasa's voice suddenly sounded. He and Bunfuku were obviously horns, and they even appeared dozens of meters away from Chinyu. After forming a series of spell marks with both hands, he slapped the ground below suddenly. Boom! The roar of the rolling rock formations reverberated, straining everyone's nerves. The ground with Chinyu as the center, under the rapid rolling, endless sand waves rushed out. It turned into 2 huge waves, and shot towards Chinyu. The gold dust and the yellow sand collided in an instant in the void, hitting Chinyu like a huge wave that overturned. Hee, it seems that even the Jinchuriki column force can't hold back. This just saves my effort. Facing this scene, Chinyu didn't seem to care about it at all. With a warm smile, the 9-tomo Mangekyo Sharingan spun up in vain. Susanoo. The violent pupil power exploded like a frenzy. The bloody posture, mixed with the taste of disaster, shook everyone's nerves. Those rapidly emerging ribs formed an absolute defense that made the pupils shrink suddenly. Chapter 414 You Are So Naive. Blood colored like a tidal wave, like a huge giant, it forcibly blocked the wave of gold dust that was rolling in. The ferocious ribs, the 100-meter body that was quickly constructed, and the majesty covering the whole body. The three-headed and six-armed posture is even more hideous. Faced with this scene, the expressions of everyone in the field suddenly changed drastically. The four generations of Keizukage and Aikido Jinchuriki, column force Bunpuku, the joint strike that was displayed. It should be able to easily submerge a small town. However, in front of Chinyu, the seemingly turbulent sand waves seemed pale and powerless. If you don't see it with your own eyes, no one wants to believe it. Cage-level powerhouses who are regarded as the strongest combat power by them, as well as the Jinchuriki column power weapons, will display such a pale and powerless attack. However, in the face of all this, Rasa was the first to laugh unbridled. Haha, Uchiha Chinyu, I knew you would be so arrogant, and in the face of such a wide-ranging attack, you didn't take it to heart at all. Bunpuku, use that trick. The hurried voices detonated everyone's nerves one after another. Rasa, who was originally at a disadvantage, but suddenly became a winner, everyone's nerves suddenly tense. The Buddha's name recited in Bunpuku's mouth stopped instantly. In the next moment, his eyes suddenly changed, turning directly into the black and gold eyes of Shukaku. Roar! A thunderous roar swept away with a strong wave of air. The purple pattern quickly emerged from the yellow sand and sand gold. In the blink of an eye, it spread to the buried Susanoo. However, no one has yet to react. Bunpuku's body was instantly shaped into Shukaku's huge body under the endless rolling of yellow sand. The huge body of 100 meters, covered with purple patterns all over the body, exudes a strange smell everywhere. Damn human, dare to force me to control me, I will not spare you. Shukaku's roar echoed in the sky. Everyone's nerves suddenly tense. After all, it is different from the perfect person Jinchuriki column in Kumogakure village. Bunpuku was able to communicate with Aikyo, but it wasn't enough to get Shukaku's approval. Case Shukaku can't think about it, he chooses to go berserk at this juncture. That makes people unable to eat kabuto and walk away. However, in the face of all this, Rasa didn't take it to heart, and not long ago got the seal against the tailed beast in the hands of Black Zetsu. He has personally tested it, and the power is self-evident. Otherwise, at this juncture, he would not take risks and put chips on Bunpuku's body. This thought just flashed in Rasa's mind, and the sound of chanting the Buddha sounded again. This time, however, it was clearly from Shukaku's mouth. At this moment, the black and gold eyes that were bursting with tears became clear. A pair of huge front claws were inserted into the sand, and the next moment an angry roar rose. Seal of the Great Burial in the Desert. The yellow sand and alluvial gold that had originally buried Susanoo all around were affected in an instant. Like a carp rolling, the moment it suddenly rolled up, it turned into a frenzy and went directly to Susanoo's body, frantically burying it. In the blink of an eye, the huge desert pyramid of 100 meters was directly condensed. At the same time, on the sand body of Shukaku, the purple incantation that appeared, seemed to come alive, and quickly diffused towards the desert pyramid with a swift and violent attitude. The speed was so fast that when everyone came back to their senses, the seal enchantment was directly condensed. Seeing that the blow was successful, Rasa's face flashed with ecstasy, and even Uchiha Madara, who was sitting cross-legged beside him, withdrew and retreated because of the violent shot in front of him, away from the battle circle. Facing the sealing technique condensed with the power of the tailed beast, his brows were also raised. If you don't shoot now, wait until later. Rasa succeeded with one hit. At this time, for him, it was a highlight moment. These words fell, the 2 days not far away, Onoki, like a ghost, rushed to the side of the desert pyramid in an instant. His hands suddenly pressed down on the pyramid, and he shouted violently. Doden, Earth-style, super heavy rock art. Boom. There was a roar on the ground of the rock formation, and the huge pyramid of 100 meters, under the super heavy rock technique, the weight skyrocketed dozens of times. It gives the impression that it weighs tens of millions of pounds. Make the original sealing power even more indestructible. Roar. A roar of tears suddenly came out. The five-tailed King Mew, the six-tailed rhinoceros, and the eight-tailed bull ghost manifested in an instant. After obtaining the seal of Black Zetsu, the control and transformation of the tailed beast has obviously reached the ultimate. With the awe-inspiring roar, the bloody mouth suddenly bluffed, and the violent chakra gathered in a frantic backlog. The violent scene fell in the eyes of the ninja coalition, and some ninjas with a little more experience suddenly changed their expressions. This is the tailed beast bomb that can destroy Ninja Village with one blow, let's retreat. As soon as these words fell, everyone's nerves seemed to be moved. There was no time to think about it, and they all quickly retreated, and the huge formation became completely flustered. However, watching the four-tailed beasts cast tailed beast bomb at the same time, Rasa's face suddenly sank, and he hurriedly looked at the three generations of Hokage. Konoha Ninja Village, your QB 9 tails are not going to take action now. In Rasa's eyes, Uchiha Chinyu, who was invincible in the eyes of outsiders, was counted by him from the moment when the violent lure attack launched. It can be said that if this battle is successful, then Rasa will become the most prestigious ninja in the ninja world. Those voices that filled the village and were unfavorable to him would obediently shut up and disappear. Under his leadership, Sunagakure Village can also rise like the sky. Moreover, according to the agreement, whoever defeats Uchiha Chinyu, he has the first right to choose the tailed beast he possesses. Once that time comes, their Sunagakure Village will have a second head-tailed beast. As long as the human Jinchuriki column power is created, under the unsatisfactory tail beast sealing technique provided by Black Zetsu, then their Sunagakure Village will be further strengthened, and it will be no exception to become the most powerful ninja village in the ninja world. At that time, Sunagakure Village will be the same as the Konoha Shinobi Village that had Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara at the same time. Hirasa will also become the greatest cage in the history of Sunagakure Village. However, this idea had just emerged, and before Rasa could react, a violent chakra detonated in Uzumaki Kushina's body. Like the moment when a frenzy rises into the sky, it is filled with the smell of various negative disasters. Chakra of Yuhi, the gorilla, quickly circled and condensed in the void, and instantly turned into a vague QB 9 tails posture. A pair of tearful eyes like a blood moon, after looking around the entire battlefield, instantly locked on the huge pyramid with high hopes, and a hoarse voice suddenly came out. You guys are too naive, do you think that this thing alone can suppress him? Chapter 415 The Tail Beast Like a Dead Dog. Too naive. The disdainful voice reverberated like thunder in the sky, and did not dissipate for a long time. Many people looked at Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama subconsciously. After all, the two of them are known as the top of the ninja world in the past, and all opinions will become the most important measure. However, it was Senju Hashirama that caught the eye, and that gesture of touching the tip of her nose with a little helplessness. While the expressions of everyone in the field changed slightly, Rasa, who was on the side, took the lead in roaring. You bastard, it's buying time for Uchiha Chinyu. He is now suppressed by Bunpuku's sealing technique. Under tailed beast bomb, I don't believe that Susanoo alone can save him. Along with the hysterical roar, everyone's nerves were tense again. Seeing this, Rasa roared again with a ferocious expression on his face. Go! The successive urgings instantly made the four big men Jinchuriki column force and tense their nerves. Looking at the sandstorm pyramid in front of him, a ruthless color flashed in the depths of his pupils. The arrow has to be sent on the string. Things have progressed so far, and there is no way out. What's more, in the face of the joint force of the four big men Jinchuriki column, they couldn't believe that Uchiha Chinyu could really take the attack down. Tailed Beast Bomb. The four-tailed beasts roared in unison, the bloody mouth bluffed, and the endless chakra madly gathered and compressed in the mouth. Looking at the rapid prototyping tailed beast bomb, the overflowing atmosphere of destruction is shrouded in all directions. Hum. A slight air vibration suddenly came out, and the four-tailed beast bombs clearly reached the critical point. The eyes of the four-tailed beasts lit up, and after reflecting on the motionless sandstorm pyramid, they moved instantly. PFF'd. The big mouths of the four-tailed beasts suddenly opened and closed, compressing into ultimate, S-tailed beast bomb, like a cannonball, instantly tearing the air out. The turbulent air ripples quickly rolled back around. At a distance of 500 or 600 meters, under the four-tailed beast bomb's roaring, it was only a blink of an eye. Looking at the next moment, you can collide with tailed beast bomb, whether it is the four people Jinchuriki column force, or Rasa and others. Even the more distant ninja coalition had an inexplicable urgency on his face. They desperately wanted to know, who QB, Ninetales, said was too naive, who was more naive. However, this idea had just sprouted in their minds, and before they could react, one after another sonic boom burst into pieces. Bang bang bang. The thick pyramid wall was instantly penetrated. Collided head-on with the oncoming tailed beast bomb with lightning speed. Bang. The seemingly fierce tailed beast bomb was instantly pierced under a single shot. Boom. The thunderous explosion sounded directly, and the turbulent airwaves rolled back like a 12-category hurricane. The fire that soared into the sky turned into a sea of fire in an instant. The four indestructible blood-colored chains appeared in front of the four-tailed beasts in an instant, penetrating the endless flames. Feeling the breath emanating from the chains, a trace of panic flashed in the eyes of the tailed beasts. However, at such a close distance, all efforts pale in vain. As soon as the golem chain approached, the speed increased sharply. As cunning as a poisonous snake, it quickly wrapped around the neck of the tailed beast. As soon as the four-tailed beasts touched the golem chain, the chakra in their bodies was like falling into a quagmire. The strength of the whole body was imprisoned in an instant. Get over here. The light voice, at this moment, seems to be waiting for me without a doubt. The moment the voice fell, the blood-colored chains suddenly tightened, without any fancy. Four huge-tailed beast silhouettes like hills were pulled over forcibly. It gives the impression that it is like a tailed beast like a dog, looking pale and powerless in front of the four blood-colored chains. Roar. A low roar instantly detonated the silence in the arena. The sandstorm pyramid, which had been pierced, spread out like a spiderweb of cracks. The next moment, a huge palm like a dead tree pierced through it. The defense, which they regarded as indestructible, was pulled by two big hands, accompanied by a rolling roar, and suddenly tore apart in front of everyone's eyes. The yellow sand was flying all over the sky, pouring down like a torrential rain. Gedo Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, which is far bigger than the tailed beast, broke out of the ground directly. The five eyes that were opened, and the blood of the gorilla Yuhi, was even more frightening. The tailed beast like a dead dog was pulled in front of him abruptly. But the people present, whether it is Rasa and others, or the ninja coalition, even Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama suddenly turned their eyes and locked onto Gedo Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, the thin figure. Those eyes that were as white as snow, and the 9 Tomo-s that were turning, looked at each other, and the soul seemed to be shaken. This is the Rinnegan of the Six Paths Fairy. An unexpected exclamation tensed everyone's nerves. Uzumaki Nagato during the Five Shadows talks held at the Konoha Shinobi village. Faced with this so-called Akatsuki chief, though, they were shocked and surprised, but not in awe. However, when these eyes fell on Chinyu, the meaning was completely different. A pair of 9-tomo Mangekyo Sharingan has already made the ninja world frightened. Now let's have a pair of Rinnegan's. What level of strength is that? That is not at all to describe in words. No way, you can't turn on Rinnegan. Uchiha Madara's face changed, and he growled anxiously. In the face of this junior, he has always held the determination to be ashamed. No matter how many times we meet, none of this will change. However, this idea became more and more extravagant with each meeting. Uchiha Chinyu who became stronger and more unfathomable again and again. When he saw this pair of Rinnegans, he couldn't help but feel a hint of despair in his heart. The violent scene made everyone in the field froze in shock. The face of the legend of the dignified Uchiha clan, he actually behaved so rudely. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, who would want to believe that all this was true? Madara, isn't this your eye? Black Zetsu, who had been holding back his belly full of murderous intent and was about to look for an opportunity, suddenly changed his expression and asked anxiously. As the most powerful behind-the-scenes mastermind who has lived for thousands of years, Rinnegan appears very rarely. If Uchiha Madara didn't turn on Rinnegan by chance, Black Zetsu wouldn't know. There are other ways. However, this part of the secret that he originally regarded as a secret was broken one after another by the young man in front of him. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe this is true? After all, having Rinnegan means that Uchiha Chinyu has the opportunity to become a Ten-Tails Jinchuriki column force. In the face of Chinyu, who has been astonishing in his actions time and time again, Black Zetsu dare not gamble. Chapter 416 The Last Confidence. The voice of hysterical questioning reverberated in all directions. Everyone's eyes turned and locked on Uchiha Madara. The face of the legend of the Uchiha family, they never thought of it, and there is such an inside story. No, these are not my eyes. Uchiha Madara glared at Uchiha Chinyu with a hint of madness on his face, shook his head and roared anxiously, "Who are you? Why do you know everything?" In the face of this, every time he appears, he can do things to give people a faction, steady as a rock, and strategizing the younger generation. Even Uchiha Madara couldn't help but feel a trace of inexplicable powerlessness and despair in her heart. Hee, do I need to ask? I am a member of the Uchiha clan. Chinyu smiled warmly, but instead looked at Black Zetsu not far away and said, "Black Zetsu, Uchiha Madara is stupid, and thinks you are the heir of his will." Quote. However, I'm different from him. I've lived on my brain until now. I really want to know, what other cards do you have so that you can still have the confidence to run away this time? Whether it's the first time they meet, or one after another. Black Zetsu was the first to escape when he saw that the situation was not right. However, at the moment, no matter whether the army of 100,000 white Zetsu disappeared, or the four-tailed beasts joined forces, they were directly captured. For Black Zetsu, who originally liked the 36 strategies to be the best strategy, he still stayed on the battlefield. That's when things go wrong and there must be demons. Isn't he a product of my will? Uchiha Madara's expression froze, and said, "No way, before I was killed by you, I clearly poured my will into his body, this is a clone." While roaring, Uchiha Madara couldn't wait to form a series of spells. However, when the last spell in his hand fell, Black Zetsu, who was not far away, still stood there indifferently. Regardless of Uchiha Madara's order, everything seemed pale. Now, let alone Uchiha Madara, even the melon-eating crowd in the field suddenly understood that Uchiha Madara might have been deceived again. Feeling the change of sight around him, a trace of anger flashed on Uchiha Madara's face. Taking one step forward, like a ghost, he performed the teleportation technique and appeared first 10 meters away from Black Zetsu. Like wheels, his hands flew up quickly, forming a series of spell marks. Kaden Fire Style Great Fireball Jutsu. The fiery chakra, condensed frantically in Uchiha Madara's mouth, rushed out the next moment. A fireball with a diameter of tens of meters was condensed in an instant, and the fiery air wave rolled down. With a rolling gesture, he rolled towards Black Zetsu. The violent scene surprised many people. In their eyes, Black Zetsu is their ally against Uchiha Chinyu. Uchiha Madara from Impure World Reincarnation is the killer of 3 generations of Hokage. However, now there is an infighting in public. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that all this is true? 3 generations of Hokage. Rasa's expression changed and he exclaimed anxiously. The face of Uchiha Chinyu, the 4-tailed beasts were easily subdued, and the human Jinchuriki column force was even more unresponsive. Black Zetsu is hard to figure out, but as long as there is more effort, it is also a chance to win. However, it was Senju Hashirama's shot that stopped him when he entered the target scene. You guys don't understand now. What does the naivety in EPUB 9 Tails' mouth really mean? Since the tailed beast has already fallen into Chinyu's hands, I advise you not to take action anymore. He didn't put you in his eyes at all. He finished speaking. Senju Hashirama's eyes suddenly turned and fell on Uchiha Madara's body, and he said in a deep voice, the current Madara is at the level of berserk. If you forcibly stop him, I'm afraid it will force him to go mad and shoot at you. What I want to know most now is what the kid in front of me is thinking. Mokuden, wood style, wood golem jutsu. Black Zetsu roared, his hands clasped together suddenly, the muscles in his body wriggled, and the ground under his feet instantly moved. A tree root as huge as a horned dragon directly broke through the rock formation, turned into a big hand, and suddenly caught the incoming fireball. At the same time, the 100-meter huge wooden man transformed into an illusion. Bang! The fireball was crushed in response to the sound, and it turned into a sky of fire and scattered between the sky and the earth. The faces of the people present changed suddenly. A low voice came out on the wooden man. Black Zetsu, everything is ready. Danzo. Seeing this uninvited guest, the 3 generations of Hokage were startled at first, and his face changed drastically. The face of Danzo, a conspirator, he is obviously a shit stick. Hee, Danzo, your shit stick has come out. It seems that you are ready, confident killers to deal with me. I hope you won't let me down. This time it won't be like before, let you be street mice, fled in despair. Uchiha Chinyu looked at Danzo with a smile. The small voice once again tightened everyone's nerves. Having seen Uchiha Chinyu's strength with his own eyes, he dared to stand up and show his trump card. That means, this trump card is no trivial matter. Danzo's face sank involuntarily when he heard the still calm voice. It can be said that the biggest mistake in his calculations in this life was to underestimate the strength of Uchiha Chinyu. If he could be counted once, he would definitely strangle Chinyu to death in his infancy. However, in the face of the once despair, Black Zetsu came to him not long ago and proposed the last trump card, which gave him a glimmer of hope and urgency. Once this technique is successfully performed, what awaits Uchiha and Chinyu will be despair. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Danzo's ugly face. After glancing at Chinyu, he immediately looked at the 3 generations of Hokage, his old rival for many years, and said, Hiruzen, I didn't expect that you would end up in a dead end. The teacher's forbidden technique was also displayed. Although, I couldn't become Hokage back then, but this time, I have to prove that the teacher is blind. If I become Hokage, I will be 100 times better than you. Look, this is the ancient ninjutsu we prepared to deal with this arrogant man. As long as he is killed, I will become a hero of the ninja world. Chang's voice became a little hysterical at the end. Danzo didn't delay much. In the backhand, a simple scroll fell directly into his hand and quickly spread out on the wooden figure's head. At the same time, he took out a brand new scroll again and bit it into his mouth with his backhand. As the scroll hung down and spread out, Danzo quickly flipped his hands, forming a series of spell marks. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, he roared angrily. The Art of Psychic. Chapter 417 _ The Worst Three Sons. The Art of Psychic. Roar again and again, with a decidedly unparalleled taste. The moment Danzo's hands clasped together suddenly, the scroll in his mouth exploded into a cloud of white mist. The next moment, the worn-out vessels were directly channeled out. There are various mysterious patterns on each vessel. That's the 9 dragons sealing pot that was broken during the sealing of the 3 tails. How did Danzo get it? That's the magic flame tin that sealed her way. That's what seals the 6 tails. A series of exclamations came out from the mouths of several shadows. Before the previous person, Jinchuriki Column Force, died, and the candidate for the successor Jinchuriki Column Force was not found. They usually seal with the help of utensils. Although the difficulty is also very high, at least they will not be as violent as the human Jinchuriki Column Force. It can be said that the value of these vessels is no less than that of divine vessels. However, now these things are in Danzo's hands, which has to make these shinobi villages look at Danzo's dark line with admiration. Black Zetsu, these utensils all have chakras from tailed beasts, which should be enough. Danzo said hurriedly. It's just a bit of an invitation to take credit. However, in the face of all this, not many people pay attention to it now. What they are most eager to know now is what Black Zetsu wants these sealed vessels containing the tailed beast chakra. Danzo, I didn't expect you to succeed. Black Zetsu's eyes lit up, and after looking around, he said with a grim smile, Uchiha Chinyu, you sealed the rest of the tailed beasts in Geto Mazo, demonic statue of inside the outer path. I can't get it. But it doesn't mean that I can't get the chakra of the 9-tailed beast. Having said that, Black Zetsu clasped his hands together suddenly, and a mysterious magic seal appeared in his hands at the moment. Originally got Black Zetsu as a vote, and then the seal applied to the tailed beast quickly appeared on the body of the 4 tailed beasts and Kushina. Roar! Painful screams came out from the mouth of the tailed beast like thunder, and Uzumaki Kushina covered his abdomen with pain, and a large amount of cold sweat oozes out of his forehead. The scene of, waiting for me, suddenly changed the expressions of the cage-level powerhouses. Namikaze Minato stepped forward even more quickly, hurriedly trying to support Uzumaki Kushina. However, oncoming him was a slap from Hula. Pop! The crisp slaps echoed in the sky, and the burning sensation made Namikaze Minato stunned. Covering half of his cheek, he said with a pale face, Kushina. 9 your sister. Uzumaki Kushina bit Kiba and said, if you hadn't put a seal on me for no reason, my mother would not have done this, and I won't see you in the future. The hysterical growl, like a hammer, shook Namikaze Minato's nerves. Looking at this scene, Namikaze Minato shook his head horribly, then suddenly looked at Black Zetsu, and roared, Black Zetsu, what the hell did you do? You've been used as a spearman. Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, that guy has been eyeing Chakra, the tailed beast from the very beginning. It seems that this ninjutsu is worth looking forward to, and it is worthy of having lived for thousands of years. Behind the scenes. These words fell, not only Namikaze Minato and the others, but also Black Zetsu's expression suddenly changed. Do you know my origin? Black Zetsu asked anxiously, his face sank. Faced with these words, everyone's nerves were moved. After all, if in their eyes, the origin of Uchiha Chinyu is the first and most difficult to guess, then Black Zetsu can be ranked second. Now that Chinyu is playing with a kick, this is big news. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on Chinyu's body, and there was an inexplicable urgency. Hee, I originally planned to leave some suspense for you, but since you have such a request, then I will also fulfill you. Chinyu laughed dryly and said, 6 paths immortal, named Otsutsuki Hagoromo, he has a man named Otsutsuki Hamura. Brother. Of course, you may think that this black thing is Hagoromo, but I can tell you clearly that this guy is just the seal of the 6 paths immortal, the ancestor of chakra, the ancient will that was stripped out when Otsutsuki Kagaya was called the most ancient will. The third child who is not in the stream. The slightly elongated voice can be called full of explosiveness. It is simply a stone that stirs up 1,000 waves. In the ninja world, there is indeed a legend of a fairy with 6 paths. In their eyes, the ancestor of chakra is also the 6 paths immortal. However, now Chinyu's words have simply removed the mystery of history. Let them know what dusty history is. It's impossible, it's absolutely impossible. Black Zetsu's expression changed dramatically, and he stepped back a few steps frantically. Who are you? Why do you know these things? Looking at Black Zetsu, who was so rude, everyone who was still suspicious, suddenly changed their expressions. In particular, I always thought that Black Zetsu was Uchiha Madara of his own will. Now suddenly tell him that this is the will of the ancestor of chakra. In the case of public embarrassment, it would be a big embarrassment. If there is a dog hole here, he can't wait to go straight into it. Hee, who are you asking me? Chinyu said with a playful smile. Actually, I don't know either, or you can call me the heavenly path of this world, someone who stands on the top and overlooks all beings. The nonsense is over, it's time to show the cards. Heavenly path. A person who overlooks all beings. The people present were obviously stunned. Black Zetsu's expression changed. Looking at the primitive scroll on the ground, he roared angrily. What heavenly path? What overlooks all beings? This is just bullshit. You just know that my mother is the ancestor of chakra, but you must not have thought, where did my mother come from? This scroll, as long as you use the chakra of the 9-tailed beasts, you can open a door to the dimension that my mother broke off 1,000 years ago. This chakra does not belong to this world. As a princess, the mother is responsible for cultivating the divine tree. She has already violated the rules of the family by doing so. Speaking of this, Black Zetsu's expression was obviously distorted, and he said with a big laugh, "The Protoss where my mother belongs, every clan can easily destroy this ninja world, your so-called shadow is not even a fart in front of them. The army of 100,000 white Zetsu, but the mother who is the ancestor of chakra, created it to deal with the clansmen who came to the door one day. Uchiha Chinyu, aren't you very powerful? Although I can't unlock the coordinates that were closed by my mother forever, but even if I open it for a moment, I can let the people of the Otsutsuki Protoss discover this dimension. Once they come through the world, they will be waiting for you. It's a mortal situation." The voice of Chang's words rolled away. Black Zetsu, who was dead and the net was broken, everyone's nerves suddenly tightened. Danzo, who was an accomplice, changed his face slightly, and couldn't help but take a half step back. Chapter 418 _ the bottom line is different. Crazy-like voices, like thunder, rolled and dispersed in the 4 directions of the sky. Looking at Black Zetsu's distorted cheeks, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Especially the so-called Otsutsuki gods that Black Zetsu kept talking about. That is comparable to the ancestor of chakra, and even comparable to the existence of 6 paths immortals. Black Zetsu really makes a hole out of the dusty space coordinates. It was a nightmare for them. Thinking of this, everyone's eyes turned and locked directly on Uchiha Chinyu. At this time of crisis, they thought of Chinyu first. If he is willing to take action, the crisis brought by Black Zetsu may be easily resolved. 3 generations of Hokage. 2 days ago, Onoki couldn't hold back. In the current situation, anyone can see who is loyal and who is traitor. Facing the crisis that Black Zetsu is about to bring, the 3 generations of Hokage's face changed one after another, and finally he sighed. Chinyu, can you stop him? As soon as these words came out, everyone's nerves were tense. However, more than that, Yuhi's face was suffocated. After all, just a moment ago, they kept saying that they wanted to kill Uchiha Chinyu and win the Fourth Ninja War. He even regards Black Zetsu's 100,000 man-made White Zetsu army as his trump card. However, the change in the situation that is now in front of us is too fast. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that this is a turning point? Stop him. Chinyu smiled genially and looked around and said, "Why do you want to stop him? I'll wait for him to take action until the flowers are gone. Black Zetsu, don't linger." The small voice seemed to be filled with magical sounds at this moment, and it echoed in the heaven and earth for a long time and could not be dissipated. Not to mention many people in the ninja world, even Black Zetsu was shocked, and the whole person was stunned. "Monkey, don't be fooled." Senju Hashirama appeared on the side of the third-generation Hokage, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Although I don't know that kid, why do you know so many ancient things?" However, according to Black Zetsu, the ancestor of chakra, Otsutsuki Kagaya, obscured the spatial coordinates of this dimension, and then captured the chakra fruit. Then her family will never give up the pursuit, and I am afraid it will be a matter of time to find this place. Quote. He finished speaking. Senju Hashirama's eyes suddenly turned and landed on Chinyu. "I think, this kid is probably planning to lead them out, and then cut the weeds." Lead them out. The expressions of the people present changed drastically, and they simply gasped. 2 days of hesitation, Onoki hurriedly asked, "Lord Hokage of the first generation, if the spatial coordinates are really opened, how many people will the other party come and what level of strength will they reach? It's a disaster for the world." The expressions of the people in the field also changed slightly. As Onoki said, facing the Otsutsuki Protoss in the mouth of Black Zetsu, under the unknown strength, the risk is too great. No, according to Black Zetsu, this space coordinate is only open for a short time, then the other party can sense that the people who came here should only be those who have been tracked down for a long time. Senju Tobarama explained, if this chakra is really right, the Otsutsuki Protoss in Black Zetsu's mouth are so important, they will come after them, and it will be a matter of time. Quote. Uchiha Chinyu's strength is unfathomable right now, and even the eldest brother asks himself that he is not an opponent. He is confident that he will let Black Zetsu go. He definitely has a whole card. He is willing to deal with it, and it will be better than the ninja world in the future. As soon as these words fell, the people in the field suddenly realized. Side said with surprise, "Tobarama, I didn't expect you to say good things to this kid, it's really a miracle." In the original, if Senju Hashirama is a joke, then Senju Tobarama is an unselfish judge. Two are black and white faces, especially when facing the Uchiha family. HMPH, eldest brother, I'm just talking about things, not to mention that with our current state, we can't be of much help at all. Senju Tobarama's expression froze slightly, and he hurriedly explained. Haha, never thought Tobarama you would be shy too. Senju Hashirama laughed. However, no matter how many people come to the other side, we must be prepared, otherwise, let the other side beat him and let the kid come to help, it will lose the face of our ninja world. Yes, Lord Hokage of the first generation is right. The third generation of Hokage's face condensed, and he shouted in a hurry. Everyone obeys orders. Now the 5 Ninja Village Alliance has changed from crusade against Konoha missing Ninuchiha Chinyu to dealing with foreign enemies, and the whole army is fighting. Do not lose the face of our 5 great ninja villages. Yes. The unanimous response, like thunder, shot straight into the sky above the 9 heavens, giving people a deafening feeling. Looking at the rainbow-like situation, Black Zetsu's face couldn't hang, and his cheek muscles twitched. This is his trump card at the bottom of the box, and it should have been enough to make people feel frightened and confused as soon as it was revealed. However, the scene now presented in front of me is obviously not the right style of painting. However, it was no wonder that Black Zetsu had a change in mood. Even the 5-cage level powerhouses present did not expect such an aura. After all, not long ago, the 4 generations of Hokage personally boosted morale, and the effect was not as good as before. However, when he saw the thin figure standing on the meteorite, there was a warm smile on his face. Everything makes sense. The bottom line is different. HMPH, don't think too much. The boss said that the people who will come next, even we are not qualified to shoot, let alone these little shrimp hair. A cold voice suddenly appeared. The originally high morale suddenly collapsed, and his eyes followed the sound. It's Kikuzu, how come you haven't died yet? Senju Hashirama looked at the person who came and spit out a sentence in confusion. Kikuzu, who was originally high-spirited, couldn't help twitching with that stinky face that had not changed for thousands of years. However, looking at this in front of him, he used to be frightened and ran back to the first Hokage in Taki Ninja Village. Senju Hashirama in front of him is only 40% of the strength in his heyday, but Kikuzu also has no confidence and challenges again. This is the shadow of a lifetime. More look at Senju Hashirama. Kikuzu approached the 3 generations of Hokage recklessly and said, "Hurry up and let all the ninjas below the elite Jonin leave. No one can do anything at will without an order from the boss." The words fell, and the people in the field couldn't help but look at each other. A moment ago, I thought I could contribute, but now I am disgusted. This gap is a bit too big. Chapter 419_Foolish and Naive. For a time, the huge Ninja World Coalition became hesitant, and everyone's eyes swiped and locked on Senju Hashirama's body. According to what Kikuzu said, facing this unknown enemy, that kid should be the most familiar. Senju Hashirama said in a deep voice. Although, he was dead, but now he was resurrected by impure world reincarnation. However, as the former god of ninjas, Senju Hashirama has absolute right to speak. Third Hokage sank, and without any hesitation, I looked back at the other 4 shadows. We agree. 4 shadows nodded in agreement. Konoha is the only village in front of him, let alone Uchiha Chinyu's order. Now even the former god of Ninja World, Senju Hashirama has made a decision. What's more, in the face of this unknown enemy, they are not willing to let these hard-trained ninjas die in vain. Along with it, the 5 shadows decided to fall, and the ninjas present were a little reluctant in their hearts, but it can be placed anywhere when watching a movie as a melon-eating crowd. Under the premise that life is critical, it is better to turn around and retreat quickly. Looking at the scene that seemed to be slapsticking and didn't take him seriously, Black Zetsu's expression turned ashen, and he almost clenched Kiba's teeth. Why don't you do it? The yellow cauliflower is cold this time. Chinyu turned over Byakugan helplessly. You. Black Zetsu suddenly became angry. However, the arrow had to be sent on the string, and it was too late to retreat. The only thing that could be done was to give it a shot. Thinking of this, a ferocious look flashed across Black Zetsu's face, and then he roared in anger. Okay, very good, I'm going to see how you can be fierce in the face of the Otsutsuki Protoss. Today, I will let you Ninja World and see what the fear of despair is. Voice fell, and Black Zetsu moved his hands, and flew up like a wheel. As soon as he moved, the tailed beast chakra, which had been pulled, exploded instantly. At the same time, the utensils that sealed the tailed beasts in the past were also pulled out by this ninjutsu, and a large number of chakras were drawn. Accompanied by a low roar, the power of the 9-tailed beasts turned into a frenzy and poured towards Black Zetsu. When the last sigil fell, the hideous look on Black Zetsu's face climbed to ultimate. Without any bells and whistles, it was photographed suddenly on the scroll in front of him. The art of psychic, dimensional boundary wall. With the maddening voice, the simple scroll seemed to be on fire. The power of the nine-tailed beasts gathered together. Immediately, like a ray of light Jinchuriki column, it pierced through the nine heavens. Boom! A thunderous sound resounded. The lead clouds accumulated above the nine heavens quickly rolled back like ripples. The tyrannical spatial fluctuations spread out like a frenzy, and the shattered spatial cracks gave people a mirror-shattering scene. The situation that had been in broad daylight suddenly turned gloomy, as if night had fallen. Through the huge space crack spanning 1,000 meters, you can vaguely see the stars in the sky, just like the Silver River. The strange scene and the tyrannical spatial fluctuations that spread out, like an invisible big hand, tightened everyone's heart. Uzumaki like a black hole turned frantically, and suddenly there was a crisp crashing sound. Gives a feeling of breaking down barriers. Looking at this scene, even the many ninjas who had retreated couldn't help but stopped and looked up at the sky. Uchiha Chinyu, you should have a stronger impure world reincarnation technique of Grandmaster, right? Uchiha Madara suddenly said, I can join the war. When these words fell, the expressions of many people in the field changed slightly. Uchiha Madara was originally a rebellious person. If Senju Hashirama is going to shoot, it is because of the ninja world. However, as Uchiha Madara, no one would blame him even if he didn't make a move. However, the decision now made is beyond their knowledge. Haha, Madara, it seems that you are a guy, but you are full of resentment and can't beat that kid. Senju Hashirama patted Uchiha Madara on the shoulder, laughed unbridledly and said, however, if you can find a suitable partner, you can vent it out. Not bad. Boy, the technique of impure world reincarnation shouldn't be too difficult for you. 40% of the strength, in this situation, I'm afraid it's not enough. The small voice tensed everyone's nerves. Third generation Hokage couldn't help twitching. He thought that impure world reincarnation would be his biggest weapon against Chinyu. However, I never thought that in this kind of situation, people would be despised in public. But in the face of this, the most mysterious existence in today's ninja world, his technique of impure world reincarnation, is indeed an axe. After this, the title of ninjutsu professor, I don't know where to put it. Okay, it's fine to let you guys play. Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and looked at the third generation of Hokage. 3 generations of Hokage quickly recovered, since Uchiha Chinyu was willing to use the technique of impure world reincarnation. More reliable than his 40% impure world reincarnation. Moreover, the strength of the first generation of Hokage and Uchiha Madara has increased, and for them, they have a more sense of security. Thinking of this, the third generation of Hokage quickly flipped his hands. A series of spells fell, and with his hands suddenly clasped together, the third generation of Hokage shouted again. The art of impure world reincarnation solution. Bang! The 3 figures of impure world reincarnation exploded like balloons. It was like a pile of dust left behind as the soil collapsed. Witnessing this scene, everyone's eyes were locked on Chinyu's body. Even the dignified ninjutsu professor, the third generation of Hokage's technique of impure world reincarnation, is only 40% of the heyday. Then through Uchiha Chinyu's shot, how powerful can it be? Facing so many gazes, Chinyu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose, then took out 3 scrolls and spread them out on the ground with his backhand. The next moment, both hands flew quickly, forming a series of spells. In the face of all this, however, Black Zetsu feels unmoved. When the last magic seal in Chinyu's hand fell, an exclamation suddenly sounded. Chinyu, be careful behind your back. Uzumaki Kushina exclaimed anxiously. A black shadow emerged from the meteorite, and the pitch-black arm turned into a long spear, stabbing straight at Chinyu's back. Haha, Black Zetsu, your methods are still so stupid and naive, but you think this can kill me, do you still need to summon those guys? Chinyu laughed dryly, not caring about all this at all. Still backhand slapped on the reel. The art of impure world reincarnation. Bang! 3 white mists rose into the sky, and soon came a scream of pain like a ghost. Before everyone could react, the debris quickly gathered into 3 figures. Chapter 420 The ant bites a little bit fiercely. 3 familiar figures suddenly appeared. Who held his arms around his face and looked arrogant, suddenly turned his head to look at Black Zetsu, who had made a sneak attack, and said almost word by word, "Black Zetsu, we meet again. However, I'm very angry now." Uchiha Madara moved instantly, and with a flick of her figure, she appeared in front of Black Zetsu like a ghost. Muscles of the 5 fingers of the right hand tensed suddenly, and they snapped towards Black Zetsu's throat. Bang! The huge impact directly sent Black Zetsu flying backwards like a cannonball. The speed is so fast that it gives people a comet-like impact, smashing down towards the rock formation 10,000 meters away. Boom! The entire rock layer collapsed and spread rapidly. The huge Gobi Desert shook violently like an earthquake. Looking at the random blow, a deep pit was smashed out of the rock formation, and everyone's faces suddenly turned pale. This impure world reincarnation technique is far more violent than before. Haha, Madara, can't you stop for a while? The guests are coming soon. Senju Hashirama laughed, moved his body a little and said, "However, this kid is really good, he can restore us to the strength of the heyday. As expected, no monkey can compare." Quote. Words fell, making the 3 generations of Hokage look ashen. However, in the face of Uchiha Madara just now, there was no way to refute the powerful aura that burst out like a glimpse. HMPH, Black Zetsu, I will avenge this revenge later. Don't think you can escape, I have already left a space mark on you. Uchiha Madara glanced back coldly, then immediately looked up at the sky. Hum. The air vibrated suddenly. The sky, which was like a cracked mirror, shattered again. The whole world went dark in an instant. Gives a feeling like darkness. Uzumaki, which is spinning like a black hole, feels like being torn apart by an invisible big hand at this moment. The 3 waves of terror were like a tide, giving people an inexplicable feeling of depression like the top of a mountain, and swept the world in an overwhelming manner. The ninja who was in it, the pores were standing upright, and the spine was even colder. The violent scene made everyone's faces change dramatically. They finally knew why Uchiha Chinyu just allowed the elite Jonin to stay on the battlefield. This breath alone is enough to make them unable to rise up and fight. Even though they were separated by 10,000 meters, they could still see the so-called elite Jonin, their bodies trembling slightly. However, in this situation, no one was distracted, and their eyes were locked on the 3 figures wrapped in the power membrane. 3 people alone have such a huge pressure, and this strength is probably beyond their knowledge of cage level. Haha, it finally appeared, you just wait to be killed. Black Zetsu dug out from the rock pit. For him who has an immortal body, there is no way to kill him except for the seal. Uchiha Madara just now seemed to be very fierce, but for him, the damage that could be caused was very little. Humph! Uchiha Madara gave Black Zetsu a cold look, and did not continue to speak. Facing the 3 people who appeared in the sky, he was also like a great enemy. These uninvited guests in front of him exude the breath, but even he has to cheer up. Boy, is this beyond your budget? Senju Hashirama looked at Chinyu. Chinyu raised his brows, Rinnegan turned abruptly, and the 3 figures covered under the energy membrane were clearly presented in front of him. It seems that luck is good, and it is still within the budget. Chinyu smiled warmly. If he remembers correctly, the person in charge of chasing Otsutsuki Kagaya in the original book is Momoshiki, Kinshiki. At the back, a small follower Pooh style was added. And it was these 3 people who were summoned through the psychic technique. Haha, I didn't expect that someone would take the initiative to open this space coordinate. Is it Princess Kagaya? Have you realized it? Otsutsuki Momoshiki took the lead with a reckless laugh and glanced around. However, when he entered the scene, his brows were obviously furrowed. Kinshiki, you can feel that the power of the divine tree is scattered in every corner of this dimension. Otsutsuki Momoshiki said in a deep voice. Kinshiki, as Momoshiki's sidekick, obviously had no objection, and together with Urashi behind him, he also closed his eyes. After a short while, the two of them opened their eyes in vain, and Kinshiki said in a deep voice, Lord Momoshiki, the power of the divine tree has been dispersed. It seems that Princess Kagaya really did something to betray the Protoss. Having said that, Kinshiki looked at Chinyu and the others expressionlessly and said, however, the only good thing is that they seem to know that we are going to take things back, so they came here to meet us. Really? Otsutsuki Momoshiki's face flashed a ferocious look, and then he said playfully, that's fine, so that we can also carry out the task without any scruples. However, these 4 ants have powerful chakras, and the rest of the chakras have also turned into various beasts. It is as simple as a thought to collect them. Otsutsuki Momoshiki looked around the arena with a smile as he spoke. However, the moment his eyes fell on Chinyu, his pupils suddenly shrank. Is it Rinnegan? As soon as these words fell, even Kinshiki and Urashi's expressions changed slightly. Among the Otsutsuki clan, Rinnegan is also a very luxurious thing. It is also a status symbol. Right now, the ants they keep talking about actually have a Rinnegan who is the same status symbol as them. This undoubtedly gave them an inexplicable shame. Hee, what's the matter? Didn't you think that you were no different from the ants in your mouth? Chinyu smiled playfully. However, in the next moment, his eyes suddenly sharpened, and with one step, he disappeared in place like a ghost. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, including Momoshiki and the other 3. But when Momoshiki and the others came back to their senses, a voice ringing in their ears made their expressions suddenly change. Have you tried the taste of being bitten by ants? A small voice sounded. Of thunder light, the thunder knife in Chinyu's hand turned into a drill and slashed directly towards Momoshiki's neck. So fast. Momoshiki's expression changed drastically. At this distance, he couldn't react at all. In a hurry, he could only stimulate the energy to spread all over his body. When the crisp metal collision sound echoed, and the splash of thunder was mixed with the existence of Mars. Huge impact, though without severing Momoshiki's neck. But still let him fly upside down like a cannonball, directly smashing 10,000 meters away. The tyrannical impact force created a big crater, which was bigger than what Black Zetsu smashed in the previous circle. Looking at the alien visitor who was blown away by the embarrassment as soon as he appeared on the stage. This ant bites a little bit fiercely,